UCLA over the weekend. Some conservatives, I think Jews went down and woke up the pro-Hamas protesters while they slept at 4:30 in the morning. But overnight, it's gotten actually, unfortunately, a lot worse. Columbia has had its halls occupied now by these protesters. This from ABC News, breaking at 2:06 a.m. Columbia protesters occupy campus hall. Pro-Palestinian protesters at Columbia University occupied a hall on campus Tuesday, hours after school officials ordered the dispersal of a protest encampment. Videos viewed by ABC News appear to show protesters creating a barricade with metal chairs outside Hamilton Hall after midnight. I'm sure our founders would be so happy. Several were seen in the videos unrolling protest posters from one of the building's balconies that says liberation, education. It was unclear how many demonstrators had occupied the hall, which is on Amsterdam Avenue. The Columbia Spectator, a campus newspaper, reported that people who were inside were working to block the building's exits with tables, chairs, and zip ties. Yesterday, I tweeted out because the president of Columbia University had said at 2 p.m., that was the deadline. And then 2 p.m. came and the protesters did not disperse. Faculty, in fact, surrounded the protesters and kept them safe from police. And I tweeted out, you should expel these students and you should fire the faculty. It's that easy. You cannot let these people take control over your university. I don't care if they're tenured faculty. You don't act like this. You don't disobey the orders of the president because of tenure and then expect to get away with it. There needs to be strong leadership at Columbia University. And the fact that they didn't do that, now you have buildings taken over. Congratulations, Columbia University. We'll get into all of this and more, but let's check in on the news with Blake Olson. Fade away from Jamal Murray again, man.
Oh, man, that was nice. I love it. He drives to the left on a pick and roll. We'll have that. Nuggets news. Yeah, that was a big night. Of course, it has to happen, past my bedtime.
I know, seriously.
You hear the family screaming, So I had to go check it out. And, of course, I lost a couple hours of sleep. So here we are.
What is
right?
with these games starting at 8? Seriously.
Money.
Is that it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
They just stack them up. And then those late games make a lot of money, especially on the West Coast. So, yeah, it's been that way for years, and unfortunately, it's not great in the Mountain Time Zone, but it's definitely not great on the Eastern Time Zone either, right?
Yeah, that's why I'm confused on the money thing, because it feels like you lose half the country.
I know. I always thought that, but they always used to tell me. They make more money playing them at 11 o'clock at night Eastern time, for whatever reason. Maybe because all the Columbia students are raising hell.
Right.
And, they need some entertainment while they occupy the buildings. All right, it's 46 and clear outside in Denver, expecting highs in the low 70s in the real sunshine state. Hopefully Billy will get healthy today under the sunshine. The 710 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, the Community College of Denver has canceled in-person classes this week amid ongoing pro-Hamas protests against Israel. The college's president sent out an email to students announcing that the cancellations will happen. And Monday, he made that decision, or the president made that decision before a planned walkout, citing safety issues. This is the last full week of classes before finals. Result, students will have to go remote for their final week. Oh, that's great. They have graduation also. Following in Hamas's footsteps, creating chaos. How about just flunk them? Here we go. Of course, I knew that was going to happen. So that was the cheers and jeers from Columbia. Hamas supporters at Columbia University in New York raising hell overnight again, as Jeff said. They posted on X that dozens of students occupy Hamilton Hall in protests of what it calls the university's complicity in genocide. Columbia is suspending students who refuse to leave the encampment on campus. That's what they say. And then at UCLA, we'll hear this sound from the student later. Supporters of Hamas preventing Jewish students from entering buildings and causing more problems.
Blake, I got that audio
California.
right here.
Do you? Okay,
I pulled
good.
it up
Play
myself.
that
We're
one.
going to run it. Here we go.
Yeah,
you guys have closed the entrance. We are UCLA students. I have my ID right here. I'm being blocked off, not by the security guard, but by you two. You three. Oh, look, they're making their burger while I'm going this way. Excuse me. This is what they do. Everybody, look at this. Look at this. I'm a UCLA student. I deserve to go here. We pay tuition. This is our school. And they're not letting me walk in. My class is over there. I want to use that entrance. Why can't I go? Will you let me go in?
And he's wearing Jewish Star of David.
And are they? Do they have masks on?
Yep.
Of
Masks,
course.
and they've got the Palestinian like colored flag, whatever mask thing that is.
And then if he wanted to, he could elbow them and just roll them, but you can't do that because then he'd be thrown in jail for months.
Mhm.
He'd be the bad guy. So yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, and then we're going to brush it off as, they're college students. They don't know what they're doing. They're being indoctrinated. And all of this is what you reap, what you sow. So thank you for that. I appreciate it, Jeff. 4 law enforcement officers in North Carolina are dead after a shootout in Charlotte. They were serving a warrant to a convicted felon. When it turned deadly, he was killed. 4 others were hospitalized. A suspect named David Sansala was shot by police during a pursuit that began in Inglewood and then ended in a 3-car crash at Mineral near Santa Fe. Sansala suspiciously drove a vehicle toward officers, causing police to fire in self-defense. He then led police on a pursuit before crashing into 2 vehicles at Mineral Avenue, injuring 2 people. Thankfully, they were only injuries. If you're in that area on Monday, you could not get around Mineral and Santa Fe, just traffic all day long because of that one. News brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace, patio, and grills, locally owned and operated since 1954. Online at lairfireplacepatio.com. It's 41 in Broomfield, 44 in Aurora, and 46 in Denver. Once again, Jamal Murray knocks down his 2nd game-winning shot of the series to knock out the Lakers in the first round, 108-106 in Lodo last night. Game high, 32 points. Jokic had 25, 20 boards, 9 assists. Next up, the T-Wolves from Minnesota. Avalanche try to wrap up their opening round series tonight in Winnipeg. Kelly Michaels happy about that, behind the board, in for Billy this morning. They lead the Jets 3-1, and the Rockies start a new series today in Miami against the Marlins at Lone Depot Park. All right, Jeff continues. Once again, Billy trying to get healthy, and the show continues on this Tuesday. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
The 710 5-day forecast, sunny to partly sunny, a little breezy today, high 65 to 70, gusty west winds of 15 to 30. Lows tonight in the lower 40s. Partly cloudy on Wednesday, a high near 70. Wednesday afternoon and evening and Wednesday night could bring a chance for showers and thunderstorms. It will be cooler, back down to the 60s Thursday and Friday, and Thursday, Friday into Saturday, some scattered showers and thunderstorms possible. Meteorologist Don Day on 710 KNUS.
All right. The big news this morning, Community College of Denver, Metro State University of Denver, and the University of Colorado Denver are canceling their classes, canceling in-person classes because of safety concerns during the protest at Aurora campus. This is from Channel 9. Monday is day 5. So yesterday, now day 6 of the pro-Palestinian protests at Aurora campus. For many students, this is their last full week of classes before finals and graduation. 10 minutes before a planned student walkout on Monday, CCD, so that's Community College of Denver's president, sent students an email notifying them all in-person classes were canceled for the rest of the week because of safety issues, forcing students to go remote the week before graduation. So what is happening on these college campuses? Last night, Columbia University, you had protesters occupying a campus hall. Where did this all come from? So you had the initial protest October 7th in support of Hamas that took place on some college campuses. And this is support of Hamas. Do not let them tell you anything else. This is about divestment of Israel from our college. It's nothing. That's all side show. These are pro-terrorist sympathizers joining on college campuses and harassing Jews. You've seen video after video. We just played it. I'll play it again here in a second. A UCLA student with the Star of David necklace. So a Jewish student at UCLA is not allowed to go to campus. They block Jews from going to campus. This is just outright anti-Semitism. And it's exploded again on these college campuses. So the initial attacks on October 7th. And then last week, the president of Columbia University testified before Congress about how they're dealing with these types of protests. And if you remember going back to Harvard, Pitt, MIT, when those presidents testified, and you have the outright calling of the death of Jews taking place on these college campuses, and these college presidents are not defending them. And then it was conservatives that put the pressure on these presidents to resign. And the only reason Harvard's president ever resigned was not because she allows a murderous chants on her college campus, but because she got busted for plagiarism. Well, last week, Columbia president testifies before Congress, and it stirs all this back up. And when she tried to disperse the crowd, well, it just kicked up more protests on college campuses. Now, you have some states that are addressing this in the right way. Texas and Florida, where you have conservative governors. And remember, many of these are state schools. So the governor has some type of voice into guiding these universities. And so in Florida and in Utah, you have them going, you have the leadership of the state going, we're not going to allow these types of disruption. You do not have the right to intimidate Jews on college campuses, and we're going to shut you down. That type of bold leadership is exactly what is needed in these cases. All right, so these camps have formed now downtown Denver on the Aurora campus. Mike Johnston went down to try to reason with these protesters. This was what he faced on Friday. This is the Democrat governor or Democrat mayor of Denver.
Mike Johnston, what do you say to the students' demands? Mike Johnston, what do you say to the students' demands? I'd like to talk if I can.
Hey, Al, I just want to.
What do you say to the students?
I'd like to be able to talk if I can. Great. We are here to try to make sure we can help you all exercise your right to protest peacefully. We want this to be a campus where you can exercise your First Amendment rights and be respected to do that. And so to do that, we also need to be able to respect the ability for the rest of the campus.
So no demands. Our demands are not being met.
Hold on, can you let me talk now? Thank you.
You support genocide.
Chuck, you let me. I'm going to talk for 60
It's a pretty
seconds.
simple question. Yes or no?
I'm going to talk for 60 seconds and I'll walk. If you want to listen, you can. If not, that's your choice. So what we want to do is we want to make sure people can protest peacefully. We also have to have a campus that can continue to operate here. So our ask is we need you all to be able to pull down the tents. That is against the campus policy. You can continue to protest peacefully here once the tents come down. We have no desire to make any arrests for anyone. We want them to be able to protest. If the tents can come down, I need to finish talking, please. If the tents can come down in the next 30 minutes, we need you all to do that. The tents will be removed from the campus. You continue to protest peacefully. If the tents do not come down, then we would need to remove those from. We have no desire to make any arrests.
It's more of the same. Our demands are not being met. What does that mean?
I have no capacity to meet
Let me just say it right here.
I don't oversee this campus.
Let me just ask a question that you can.
We'll be happy to help you.
Right here.
You fascist!
We're teachers and students out here. We're teachers and students. You were one of us one day. No
It completely unravels. It completely unravels. So first of all, why did he want to go down and do that? Right? Because for, I think, two reasons. One, he wanted to try to reason with them. Right? He's a Democrat. They're Democrats. He goes, look, guys, and you know what this reminded me of? Did you ever hear the story of when Nixon went to the anti-war protesters and tried to reason with them and they shouted him down too? So you get these politicians that go, look, I'm a reasonable guy. They're on the same side as me. Let's go down and try to have these conversations. I understand that. So Mike Johnston, mayor of Denver, tries to go to the protesters down at the Aurora campus and tries to reason with them, and it completely falls apart. The other reason, I think, is he probably wanted the photo op of being a mayor in charge, a mayor that takes on the problem. He's not hiding in a building far away. I'm down here with the people, and I'm going to try to reason with them. So I think he probably wanted the photo op of it. Completely falls apart. So what is happening? What is happening? How did we get here? Did we just have this underground current of anti-Semitism in this country for the last 20 years that just has now exploded on college campuses? No, I don't think that's what's happened here. What has happened here is Islamists have partnered with Marxists, and you have the recipe, the concoction for these protests. What do I mean by that? Okay, so obviously, Islamists hate Jews. I mean, you just go watch any speech in Iran, you're going to get that message, right? It is written into their worldview that Jews need to be not just eliminated from Israel, but wiped off the face of the earth entirely. Okay, so you have that component of radical Islamists that are driving this in portion, but how it connected with college campuses is for the last 20 years, for the last 30 years, for the last 40 years. We have been pushing a Marxist agenda into our children. What do I mean by that? Just read the first page of the Communist Manifesto. Just read the first page of the Communist Manifesto and you'll go, that is the world we live in right now. That all of history is oppressors versus oppressed. That is in the first page. And that there needs to be essentially a transformation of society. So if your worldview is oppressor versus oppressed, if you buy into that, right, that there is systemic oppression taking place out there, okay, then you start to put people in categories. You go, certain people are oppressed, certain people are oppressors. If you are successful, you are an oppressor. If you are not successful, you are oppressed. If you're a certain race, you are oppressed. If you're a certain race, you could be an oppressor. If you're a certain sex, you're an oppressor or oppressed. So you start to put everybody into these categories. When you do this, just read the Communist Manifesto, guys. This is all written there. When you do this, You greenlight the oppressed to do whatever they can to take on the oppressors. There's no more individual accountability. There's no universal right or wrong. There's just oppressors and oppressed. So if you are oppressed and you want to steal shoes from Neiman Marcus in order to have money, well, go for it. Why? Because Neiman Marcus or corporations are evil oppressors, and you as the oppressed have the green light, the ability, the right to be able to take from them. In fact, it's good. It's good for rebalancing the order of our country when you take from the oppressor. That's why you see all these videos coming from San Francisco where people just run into stores and just take whatever they want. And that's why DAs don't prosecute them in these areas, because they're rebalancing the oppressor versus oppressed narrative. College campuses have put Israel and Jews into the oppressor category and the Palestinians and Hamas into the oppressed category. That's why even in some ways you saw them celebrating what Hamas did. The raping and pillaging of innocent Jews was rebalancing the oppressor versus oppressed order. So we're going to celebrate that. You had professors at Columbia University celebrating that. That's how you get where we are today. You have to, and the way to get out of it is you have to reject the oppressor versus oppressed narrative and believe that there is universal right and wrong. Even if you're angry, let's say you have a legitimate policy difference with Israel, right? You don't like the way they're treating the Palestinians. Okay. You still can't take over a student campus hall. You can't do it. That is universally wrong to take over a campus hall from and occupy it at a university. Just can't do it. So if you believe in universal right and wrong, that is the Western Judeo-Christian worldview, that you are held to account for universal basic rights and wrongs. The Marxist worldview goes, Israel's the oppressor. Columbia's university administration is the oppressor. Therefore, we as the oppressed must occupy and take back and stand strong against these oppressors. And so we have every right to take back the campus hall. That is their worldview. That is their thinking. Now, 2 years ago, or a year ago, I posted that Colorado was rejecting the Judeo-Christian worldview and embracing a neo-Marxist worldview. And the media just went crazy on me over it. It's true. It's exactly true. It is how we find ourselves in the place where we are today. And the only way to move out of this is you got to get back to that Judeo-Christian worldview of universal right and wrong. You can still have legitimate disagreements with Israel about that. You can't. I think Israel is one of the greatest countries in this world. I visited Israel. Considering the challenges that Israel has with so many religions and the fact that is the Holy Land for Jews and Christians and Muslims, and they're able to keep a lot of that in balance. And it's a Western democracy, and it has generally respect for individual rights. It's a great country. But if you have legitimate disagreements with it, that's fine. You can have policy disagreements, but that does not greenlight you to occupy campus halls. It does not greenlight you to shout down the mayor of Denver. It does not greenlight you keeping Jews off a campus and harassing and intimidating them. The Marxist worldview has to be entirely rejected and pushed out of these college campuses, out of high school, government-run education, and we need to get back to Judeo-Christian universal right and wrong. That's how you deal with this. All right, we're getting some calls here. Let's go to Jim in Denver. Jim, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Jim.
Hey, good morning. I really agree with you this morning. I'm not sure how you make it happen, and so that the Muslims don't take over. But
Yeah.
I think the National Guard should be brought in to separate the two sets of people that are having issues out there at Columbia, and I think the police forces should actually provide the barrier
Yeah.
to make sure that people do stay in line.
These are Jim. These are criminals at
The
this point.
Jewish.
These are people that are harassing Jews. They've been told to disperse. They have taken over campus halls. They are shouting down and intimidating elected officials when they try to address them. They're criminals at this point.
Well, the Jews in 1920s found out that the eugenicists here in this nation didn't want them over here as well. But we should have changed since then, and we should be protecting the Jews. And I was standing in Glendale meeting someone in an elevator lobby, I don't know, 15 years ago, and I was amazed. They have a place out there called the American University, and there was an old woman out there waiting for the elevator, and a young guy came in. His name was Muhammad, and she said, "Good morning, Muhammad." He had two other people with him, and I was just floored, and I knew that things were changing. But he goes, "Hey," he introduced his two friends. And he goes, "My two friends, their names are Muhammad also." So there's three Muhammads and this old, Northern European woman. And you could tell the apprehension in her voice. She had three Muhammads going to the American University, training these people to be Americans or going through some hoops so that they can they get their papers or whatnot. So America has changed. And if we don't stand up for the Jewish people, nobody will. I mean, Europe has not.
Jim, you're exactly right. And I mean, we had Rich Sokol on earlier. I guess it was last week. Who, is on the board of Hillel, Colorado, which is the college campus organization of Jews. And he said there's not a Jewish student in America right now that isn't concerned about their safety.
I imagine. Yeah.
I mean, how long do you think it is, Jim, before a Jewish student is they've already been assaulted on these college campuses? I think there'll be one that's killed, unfortunately. The way these protesters are acting, it's horrible.
Well, my description of three Mohammeds, in one little room right there. This is Podunk, Colorado. You get on the East and the West Coast where there's hundreds, 100 million people. I think this is magnified phenomenally. I don't think we're seeing what's really going on in America because of our position in the middle of the country, with where we live. I think it's Columbia University is the place where protests have always happened, and they should be expected. But I think the National Guard should be there to protect the Jewish people from being stomped on and physically assaulted. I think it should be proactive rather than reactive, and I don't see a problem with the National Guard coming out there and providing a human separate barrier and some law and order.
Yeah, Jim, I appreciate it. Jim from Denver, thanks so much. Jim's line will be open. All lines are open. Give us a call, 303-696-1971. 303-696-1971. If you text in on the 710 KNUS app, let us know your first name and where you're from. Jane from Denver. Jeff, why aren't these people who are harassing Jewish students charged with hate crimes? I agree. I think that's a great question. If you interchange a Jew with African-American or Muslim harassed, they would be in jail and fast-tracked to be prosecuted. That, Jane, goes back to if you are put into the category of oppressor, then whatever the oppressed do to you is greenlit. And you have some prosecutors that aren't going to hold them accountable. 3,300, these protesters are well-trained pros. Yep. Articles coming from the New York Post that are showing where the financing for these guys are coming from. George Soros. So notice that DU has no protesters. Yeah. Joan from Lakewood. That's right. DU doesn't. CCU doesn't. In fact, in December, CCU for Israel raised $1 million to save Jewish lives by funding hospital organizations and medical rescue operations in Israel. So, yeah. And by the way, they say, good morning, Kelly. Text messages do. Thanks, Joan from Lakewood. Look, we'll continue this conversation. Give me a call. What do you think's happening on these college campuses? I shared my thesis. I think this is 30, 40 years of Marxist training happening in our public government-run schools that are now spilling out. And you're going to continue to see this until we address it and get back to universal right and wrongs. That there's something, it doesn't matter if you think they're oppressors. You can't do it to them. It's not right to harass Jews. It's not right to occupy college campuses just because you feel like you're oppressed. Sorry, can't do it. That's how we get away from this. We start to demand that our education revert back to not to Marxist ideas, but to universal Judeo-Christian right and wrongs. Give me a call, 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971. Hey, I want to tell you about Dan Kaplan's Law. I'm sure Dan was at the game because if you ever go to an Avalanche game or you go to a Nuggets game, Dan Kaplan's Law is everywhere. And he always posts great videos on his Twitter account when he's watching the game. Dan suggests that you should choose a lawyer who shares your values because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everyone involved in the case. Dan Kaplan is the son of a police officer. Dan is also a former seminarian like myself. He has dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people who are hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. Dan is all about faith. He's all about family. He's all about America. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. Dan Kaplan's Law is the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Kaplan's Law is a serious firm for serious cases. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. If you need Dan's help, give him a call, 303-770-5551. That's 303-770-5551, or hit dankaplanslaw.com. That's Dan, C-A-P-L-I-S law.com. A few more text messages coming in here. 2946. Remember, send me your first name and your location. That always helps. Thank you for discussion. You're on target for the truth. We as a country are in a place that can go into a terrible direction unless real leadership prevails. Amen. I agree with that. 2040. Fran from Greenwood. They're not Democrats. They're Nazis. The evidence is overwhelming. Stop calling Nazi Democrats progressives or pro-Palestinians. They're Nazis. And the R's are idiots for calling them anything else. Every 710 local host must extend, pull us, and invite to appear live. Have them go on the record regarding the Nazis and anti-Semitism in his voting base and Colorado's elected Democrats. Ooh, spicy, Fran. I'd love to have Governor Polis on. And I mean, for Jews have traditionally been a strong supporters of the Democrat Party. And I just wonder at this point if they've got to be reevaluating this. I really do. I mean, look at what's happening. Look at how they are treating you. Look at how progressives that have bought into this Marxist ideology are treating Jewish people in this country. I don't know, real questions as to whether or not you can continue to support that wing of that party. Give me a call, 303-696-1971. We'll get your calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710, KNUS.
At this hour in London, I'm Julia Chapman, and here are the top stories we're following. Reports suggest students at Columbia University have occupied a campus building as they continue to defy an order to disband protests. The university has started suspending students who defied a Monday deadline to call off their demonstrations. The student activists have been camping out on the New York City campus for 2 weeks now, calling for an end to the war in Gaza and for their university to divest from Israeli assets. Columbia says it is suspending students to ensure on-campus safety. President Joe Biden has spoken with Egypt's president and Qatar's emir about the current round of hostage and ceasefire negotiations between Israel and Hamas. Hamas is now preparing its response to the latest proposal, as Sarah Coates reports from Tel Aviv.
Well, that response is expected any time now as pressure mounts on Hamas by key mediators to agree to the current deal, which would likely see the release of some 33 Israeli hostages in exchange for potentially thousands of Palestinian security prisoners and a ceasefire of around 40 days.
And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Julia Chapman in London on Salem News Channel.
All right, joining us on the Jeff and Bill Show, Representative Richard Holtorf calling in. He represents the eastern part of Colorado down at the state capitol. Representative Holtorf, thanks so much for being on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Well, Jeff, I get up every morning, and it seems to occur that I get and listen to your show. So
I love it.
Thanks for putting on the show.
Well, thank you. Thanks so much. And you've been working down there to support Israel at the state capitol. Tell us about that.
Well, this effort started after October 7th. My senior aide, Charles Heatherly, and I, after the invasion and the attack by Hamas, got together and started working with some Jewish American Republicans here in the state around the Denver metro area and a gentleman from Florida. And we drafted a pro-Israel, anti-Hamas resolution. And we tried to introduce it during the special session in November. The Speaker of the House, Speaker McCluskey, would not allow that. And so we told her, we'll just reintroduce it during the regular session, which we did. It was one of 4 resolutions that the Speaker said the Republicans would get to submit. The Republican caucus did a ballot and voted on all the resolutions that we offered. It was one of the top 4.
It's great.
And since we submitted that, and this resolution, to paraphrase, said that we support Israel and we support their ability to defend themselves, and we condemn Hamas as a terrorist organization who attacked Israel. It was a very straightforward resolution, and I still have the draft of it, and we have been talking about it. But Speaker McCluskey will not allow that resolution to be read across the desk and brought down to the House chamber. And what is most disappointing, we have Jewish American Democrats in the House chamber, and I'm not going to mention Representative Sirota. I'm not going to mention Representative Weissman. I'm not going to mention Representative Woodrow. And in the lower chamber, and even in the upper chamber, I'm not going to mention Senator Michelson, Janae. But they will not promote and push for this resolution to be read forward for political reasons. They're putting progressive left Democrat politics over the country of Israel and their own religion. And it really saddens me that they are in this situation. They are so feckless that they will not bring this forth and force the Speaker of the House to bring this resolution forward. And it's worse than that, Jeff. Most people don't know the inner workings of the Jewish American community. I've got to know them better, and I'm a Christian. Let's start out that I'm a Christian. But when I went through Apache qualification course many years ago, half of my Apache training class were Israeli Air Force pilots. And we spent 3 months training together at Hanchy Army Airfield, Fort Rucker, Alabama. And I got to know them very well. And I'll never forget that life experience, sitting there training with them and doing table talk with them about their country and their predicament, surrounded by enemy that want to destroy them.
Well, I want to talk.
I'm passionate about this.
I want to, and I'm glad. I'm thankful for your leadership, Representative Holtorf. I'm thankful that you were there that night at CCU for Israel. We had invited the entire House and the entire Senate to join us, and it was a handful of House Republicans and Senate Republicans that joined us to stand for Israel, to raise money for Israel. And then at the same time, right around that same time, you had Elizabeth Epps and Tim Hernandez, joining pro-Palestinians, pro-Hamas in shouting down Representative Weinberg, interrupting him when he was trying to give a speech. The only Jewish Republican they were shouting down. And this is where I'm confused. Help me understand this. Jews have...
Go ahead, sir.
Well, traditionally, Jews have been supportive of the Democrat Party, and I don't think at this point. This is where I'm wrestling. How big is this element? How big in the Democrat Party is the Elizabeth Epps, the Tim Hernandezes, the ban Jews from college campuses, block them, shout death to America, death to Israel, death to Jews? How big is that element within the Democrat Party, and why won't they deal with it? Why won't they shut it down and say, this is unacceptable? We are going to stand with Jews in Colorado.
So to directly answer that question, I want to go back a couple steps. I want to talk about Representative Ron Weinberg.
Yeah.
You know, after I introduced that resolution, I got with Ron. He sits right in front of me in the House chamber. We talked about the resolution, and during the regular session, he said, "I'll get on the resolution. I will be the lead." And I said, "Fine, you are the only Jewish American. You lead this resolution. I will just be a sponsor. You be the prime sponsor." So he pushed and tried and worked with those Democrats, every one of them. And he said, "Look, just get on this resolution. Let's do this for Israel."
Yeah.
They would not do it. Now, I'm going to pivot to answer your question now, good sir. So the 10% or 20% of the radical far left, maybe it's 25 as a percentage basis, has the entire Democrat caucus in the House chamber. They've hijacked them. They're like on a plane, and figuratively speaking, and they've all been hijacked because of the threat of coercion, intimidation, radicalization, activism. So the majority of Democrats, and this is a movement. Look at the movement now. There's no Democrats condemning the anti-Semitic. Very few, not no. There's very few. The anti-Semitism that's going across these college campuses across the country. Those that stating we are Hamas. Oh, you're a terrorist organization that kills innocent people, because that's what you say when you say you are Hamas. From the river to the sea, I believe implies the Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea, which means Palestine would take all those lands, including Israel. And so it's very complicated. But those radicals have hijacked the entire party. And the Jewish Americans are scared. They're fearful. They have a social mindset that this is going to go away if they put their head in the sand. They're not going to stand up. They're not going to speak out. Well, I say this. I hope you have 100,000 Jewish Americans listening right now to your program. I highly doubt it, but I wish they would. Jewish Americans, you need to stand up against the radical, fringe, small percentage that is promoting this poison in America. Number one. Number two, you need to call every one of these legislators and say, get behind Israel now. If you want to return to the House chamber, get behind Israel now and stand up for yourselves, your country, and reject the progressive left and their BS and what they're peddling, the poison they're peddling. Now, that would take leadership. Now, I'm a veteran of 29 years. I call my campaign, I'm running for CD4, not to give myself a plug, veteran leadership. But that would be leadership. The next thing is I found out the JCRC, Jewish Community Relations Council. The Jewish Community Relations Council, and they've been these same Republicans, I'll just say their first names, Tashoff and Richard, here in Denver, a very prominent members of their community have gone to this JCRC, Jewish Community Relations Council. And oh, by the way, every Jewish American in Denver, Democrat, Republican, and affiliated, you need to get a hold of this JCRC, Jewish Community Relations Council, and you need to lean on them and say, what are you doing? Support Israel and support Jews. If it says Jewish on the first letter of your acronym, you better support the Jewish nation and the Jewish community. But they won't. They're scared. They won't get behind this resolution. They won't endorse the resolution because of the same politics, this Democrat progressive politics.
Richard Holtorf, I appreciate it. We're up against a hard break here, but I really appreciate you giving me a call. Thank you for your leadership down there. Thank you for your strong voice and supporting Israel. Representative Richard Holtorf. Friends, we're going to continue this conversation. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. talking these pro-Palestinian protests. That's a generous way of saying it. Anti-Israel, anti-Semitic protests that are taking place. Colorado, the Community College of Denver, canceling the last week of classes going on in person. Mike Johnston went down and tried to reason with him, got shouted down. We played that audio a bit ago. Let's go to Joe in Arvada real quick. Joe, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show. We got about 1 minute.
Oh, good morning, Jeff.
Good morning.
God doesn't flip-flop. He's never going to not favor the Jews. What we're seeing here is good and evil is being sorted right in front of your eyes. There's a book by John Bevere called Driven by Eternity. What it does is it describes this sorting that happens. We are seeing the left come out of the closet. They are evil. For hosts, you should know that Ronald Reagan said this. If fascism ever comes to the United States, it will come from the left, from liberalism.
Joe, you're exactly right. Joe from Arvada, thanks for being so succinct. Think about this. Think about where the left is. They take your guns. They hate Jews. They want to kill babies. That's the modern American left. Doesn't sound too righteous to me. Sounds pretty evil. We'll continue this conversation. Give us a call, 303-696-1971. Text us on the 710 KNUS app. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. 7 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe. Unfortunately, Bill's still a little bit under the weather. Brother, we miss you. We're praying for you. We hope you recover soon, get you back in here, and the debate can continue. Hey, we're bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, center, and sometimes a little crazy. It's going to be another beautiful day in the greatest city in America, and we're gearing up for a whole nother hour of engaging discussions, critical analysis, most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab your cup of coffee, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Coming up in the 9 o'clock hour, you're not going to want to miss this. A guest on our program, the doctor who provided medical treatment to Saddam Hussein when he was captured, will be joining us. That's right. The doctor that provided the medical treatment to Saddam Hussein when he was captured by American forces will be joining us in the 9 o'clock hour. He's got a whole new documentary coming out. Great guy. So you're going to want to be listening in during the 9 o'clock hour when he joins us. Let's check in on the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, Jeff. Missing Billy with the You Choose the News, but you know what? This news is starting to sound like You Choose the News, isn't it?
Right. That's right, man.
Sunny and 47 in Denver, expecting highs in the low 70s. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, the Community College of Denver has canceled in-person classes this week amid ongoing pro-Hamas protests against Israel. The college's president sent out an email to students announcing the cancellations on Monday, just minutes before a planned walkout, citing safety issues. This is the last full week of classes before finals and graduation. As a result, students will have to go remote for their final week, following in Hamas's footsteps, again, creating all the chaos. All right, Hamas supporters in Columbia, at Columbia University in New York, raising hell overnight again. They posted on X that dozens of students occupy Hamilton Hall in protest of what it calls the university's complicity in genocide. Columbia is suspending students who refused to leave the encampment on campus.
The people who were already inside Hamilton Hall decided to smash the windows and then put bike locks like around each door handle.
Oh, that's nice. At UCLA, the supporters of Hamas preventing Jewish students from entering the buildings. And we heard that earlier. And then Kayamani James is a good little useful Jewish hater. He's helping organize a lot of this in New York, and he's all over social media.
Zionists, they don't deserve to live comfortably, let alone Zionists don't deserve to live. The same way we're very comfortable accepting that Nazis don't deserve to live, fascists don't deserve to live, racists don't deserve to live, Zionists, they shouldn't live in this world.
What a great Nazi-like statement to make.
Right.
Holy cow.
That is
Who was that?
frightening. So his name is Kayamani James, and he's something. I don't know. He's not a he or he identifies as they.
Oh,
and
man.
I mean, just total insanity and evil and ignorance. And this is what you get. I mean, he just falls in line with everything they're looking for on the left, right?
Dude, that is how you justify killing Jews right there. Yeah. That is crazy.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's like, look, this is what gets me. Sorry, Blake, this is what gets me going here. All right. The news will find the craziest tiny little right-wing dude out there, and I end up having to like reject it. And what did you think of this guy? They run up to me, what do you think of this guy? What do you think of this guy? Like, I've never even heard of this guy, and that type of thing. This guy that you just played was on mainstream media for all a year, basically calling for the death of Jews. What in the world?
Right. And there are thousands of him. I mean, if you go online, you can hear the undercover audio, and I listened to about an hour of it. I mean, it's very difficult to listen to.
Every Democrat in Colorado should have to answer that dude's question right now.
There you go. There you go. That is the fight right there. But no, I mean, he identifies with someone else and something else, and he's oppressed and God, it's just brutal.
That's incredible audio. Well done, Blake.
It is. Well, we'll have some more coming up. I don't know if you want to hear it, but we'll have it. Hey, a suspect named David Sansula was shot by police during a pursuit that began in Englewood. You may have experienced it yesterday if you were in the Littleton or Englewood area near 470 Santa Fe and Mineral. It ended in a 3-car crash at Mineral near Santa Fe. Sansula suspiciously drove a vehicle toward the officers, causing police to fire in self-defense. And he led police on a pursuit before crashing into 2 vehicles at Mineral Avenue, injuring 2 people. Suzanne Morphew's death has officially been ruled a homicide. The announcement comes following the release of the autopsy results by the Colorado Bureau of Investigation. No evidence of physical trauma was found, but testing revealed presence of animal tranquilizers and other drugs in her system. She went missing in 2020, of course. Her remains found last year. Her husband, Barry, was charged with murder, but charges dropped in 2022 just before he would have gone to trial.
I think, man, you read that evidence, you read those articles, and it was the same tranquilizer that
I saw that
he used against deer.
Yes, I saw that.
So that he could cut off their antlers.
Right.
So,
antlers.
Oh man, what a horrible way. I was some of the news articles were saying that it probably it took about 10 minutes to affect her. She stumbled around drunk and then was probably out for 2 to 8 hours. That's why there's no blood. The murder took place somewhere else.
Yep. You got it in the bloodstream. 44 in North Glen, 45 in Parker, and 47 in Denver.
Jokic a screen. Murray to try to break the tie. No timeout by the Lakers. They got to go. James, a bump, a feed, a punch shot. No! Zero's on the clock. The Nuggets advance. They have won.
Jamal Murray knocks down his second game-winning shot of the series. Kind of drove left, floater to the left, and just hits it. And those little mid-range shots, those are so difficult. And it looks like an easy shot, but he canned that thing, and that's it for the Lakers. 108-106. Nuggets move on. They'll take on Minnesota in the next series. Avalanche try to wrap it up tonight in the opening round series in Winnipeg. They lead the Jets 3-1. All right, Jeff continues without Bill as he tries to get healthy. It's Tuesday. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
The 710 5-day forecast, sunny to partly sunny, a little breezy today, high 65 to 70, gusty west winds of 15 to 30. Lows tonight in the lower 40s. Partly cloudy on Wednesday, a high near 70. Wednesday afternoon and evening and Wednesday night could bring a chance for showers and thunderstorms. It will be cooler, back down to the 60s Thursday and Friday, and Thursday, Friday into Saturday, some scattered showers and thunderstorms possible. Meteorologist Don Day on 710 KNUS. The 710 5-day forecast.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're discussing these protests that are taking place on college campuses all over the country, unfortunately. Breaking news last night at 2 a.m., Columbia protesters occupy a campus hall. They've taken that over. They've locked the doors, and they're flying pro-Palestinian, anti-Jewish flags. And then yesterday, the Community College of Denver canceling classes, at least in-person classes, for the remainder of the week because of safety concerns during the protests at Aurora campus. Mike Johnston, the mayor of Denver, tried to reason with these Marxists, walk down and try to have a conversation. Didn't end up very well for the mayor of Denver. Here's the audio.
Mike Johnson, what do you say to the students' demands? Mike Johnson, what do you say to the students' demands?
I'd like to talk if I can. Hey, Al, I just want to.
What do you say to the students?
I'd like to be able to talk if I can. Great. We are here to try to make sure we can help you all exercise your right to protest peacefully. We want this to be a campus where you can exercise your First Amendment rights and be respected to do that. And so to do that, we also need to be able to respect the ability for the rest of the campus.
So no demands. Our demands are not being met.
Hold on, can you let me talk now? Thank you.
You support genocide.
I'm sorry, can you let me I'm going to talk for 60 seconds.
It's a really simple question. Yes or no?
I'm going to talk for 60 seconds and I'll walk. If you want to listen, you can. If not, that's your choice. So what we want to do is we want to make sure people can protest peacefully. We also have to have a campus that can continue to operate here. So our ask is we need you all to be able to pull down the tents. That is against the campus policy. You can continue to protest peacefully here once the tents come down. We have no desire to make any arrests for anyone. We want them to be able to protest. If the tents can come down, I need to finish talking, please. If the tents can come down in the next 30 minutes, we need you all to do that. The tents will be removed from the campus. You continue to protest peacefully. If the tents do not come down, then we would need to remove those from. We have no desire to make any arrests.
It's more of the same. Our demands are not being met. What does that mean?
I have no capacity to meet
Let me just say it right here.
I don't oversee this campus.
Let me just ask a question that you can't.
Be happy to help you.
Right here.
You fascist! We're teachers and students out here! We're teachers and students! You were one of us one day! No
That's the audio from Friday of Mayor Mike Johnston trying to disperse the protesters, the pro-Palestinian, anti-Jewish, anti-Semitic protesters, the Marxist protesters down at Aurora campus. And it is, look, I laid out the reason why we're dealing with this during the previous hour, if you want a detailed explanation. But bottom line, you have Marxists that have combined with Islamists. They have put Jews in the category of oppressor. And when you do that, when you get into Marxist thinking, where there are oppressors and oppressed, you greenlight the oppressed to be able to do whatever they want against the oppressors. Hamas raped innocent young children, girls, kidnapped them, all that stuff. And you have professors and you have these Marxists that are saying, that's fine. It was the oppressed fighting the oppressor. That is what you're dealing with on these college campuses. We've got a whole lot of calls here, full lines. Let's go to Anthony. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Anthony.
Well, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I'd just like to leave this real quick thought. It's just amazing what happened in the last 10 to 20 years. And I blame the educational system and sometimes some of the parents to teach history. It is said, if you fail to observe history, you're doomed to repeat it. And I'll leave with this final note. This battle is between Ishmael and Isaac, and some people don't understand that Israel has a right to exist. And isn't it amazing? I believe Israel only has maybe 15 million people in that region, probably the size of Connecticut and Rhode Island and possibly Massachusetts. And we got these college students at pristine colleges that just don't know their history.
Yep.
And I mean, I'm former military and I spent some time in the Middle East, and it is just utterly amazing. I also like to leave this thought. I believe if we had a 2-year conscript still in the military, I believe that some of these privileged students wouldn't be thinking the way they are today.
Anthony,
thank you for letting me say that.
I agree entirely with you. Thank you, Anthony, for that call. Anthony from Arvada. Yeah, I think our country would be different if we sent 18, 19, 20-year-olds out to do a little bit of military service. I was in Israel about a year ago now, It's part of their life, right? Teenagers go do military service. So you'll have a group of kind of 19-year-old girls standing around together, M16 slung around their back, chatting on a corner, just being 19-year-old girls, talking, having fun with each other. And then down a block, you got a whole bunch of 19-year-old boys huddled around, M16 slung around their shoulder, chatting, having a good time. And that's just their lives. I mean, part of it is the reality is that they have to fight so constantly for their own survival that you just basically have to prepare yourself to do that. But I think to Anthony's point, I think it would be better for our society if we had maybe a mandatory military service. Anthony's line's open. Give us a call. 303-696-1971. 303-696-1971. Let's go to Jay in Castle Rock. Jay, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Jay.
Morning. That's interesting audio of the mayor being shouted down and all those relatives and all those supposed peaceful protesters are not so peaceful.
No, they're lunatics. Many of them are paid. I've run into this because I've actually hosted rallies myself, and the left will send paid agitators. They're always the same ones, like literally the same ones. And at this point, I'm actually on a first name basis with them, but that's what they do. They're paid agitators.
Yeah, the paid agitators, they couldn't point to any of the countries that they're supposedly defending on a map. They've never really, done anything. They've probably never been over there. I think the city, or actually at Community College of Denver, should take. A friend of mine has these big screens that come out of these trailers, like 40-foot screen. That's a TV screen.
Yeah.
And we use them for fundraisers, and put that 23 or 30-minute video of what Hamas really did. Put it right in their faces and just show it full time.
Jay, to your point, a lot of people, I mean, rightfully so, have never seen that video. I did a 2-hour screening with my Jewish friends that showed that the actual atrocities that took place on October 7th. And there were two things that stood out to me. I won't get too graphic, but one was little boys about probably 8 and 10 years old watching Saturday morning cartoons. They're in their underwear, boys my age, right? I've got boys those exact ages almost. And just a normal Saturday morning, basically eating cereal, watching cartoons. Their dad grabs them, tries to get them into the bunker. Now remember, in Israel, the bunkers they have are to protect them from missiles, not from on the ground attacks. And so the dad grabs the two boys, throws them in just as a member of Hamas throws a grenade into the bunker. And the dad, you see the explosion. The dad falls out and he's clearly dead. The two little boys have survived. They pull the two little boys back into the house and they're crying, screaming for their dad. They can't see. They've been blinded by shrapnel. That hit me. And then there's another part where, and I don't know if those two boys survived, but there's another part where there's a group of girls huddled together. They're probably 15, 16 years old. There's about 10 of them. And they're debating. They're all one of them's filming everybody. They're debating whether or not they should leave or not. They're in one of the bunkers. And you hear, the last thing you hear is, who is that man? The video cuts. And then it cuts to Hamas video. There's about 15 men in there. They have savaged all the women. And they're all dead at that point. 15, 16-year-old girls. That, Jay, to your point, that is what these protesters are defending.
Yeah, they don't even know what they're defending. They're being paid by George Soros.
Yep.
And I've seen a lot of this in the past. Give an example just for your viewers. When we had the carpet bombing for the very first Iraq War, and the what they call the Patriot Guard from Saddam were lined up in a row, and all those bombs came out of the B-52s. I actually still have the video from our network operations center. Just terrific of what happened. And those guys were running away from their tanks, but they couldn't get away fast enough. And the same situation in Iraq, those soldiers, they didn't want to be soldiers for Saddam. They'd either have to serve or die. And then they're all gone. And it wasn't our fault. we had to do what we had to do because they took over Qatar.
Yeah.
And these people down in CCD, one thing I wanted to point out, we have a family member that works down there. They shut down the trains because they're working on the 17th Street Mall, whatever the digits are there.
16th, right?
Yeah. So there's no way to get down there. So all those trains are shut down to all those schools. And I think what these people are trying to do is also disrupt the graduation processes that are coming in a few weeks. I think it's all very well planned, and we're just such pawns to these cities. Where are all those water canyons we used to use?
Yeah.
The Chinese used to. That's what we need. Just blow them right off the lawn.
Jay, to your point, the administration's got to get control of these guys. I remember there's an old story of Bill Armstrong when we faced protesters on the campus of Colorado Christian University, and he had them arrested for trespassing.
Best guy I've ever met in politics in Colorado.
Yeah, that type of leadership at this level. Jay Castle-Rock, I appreciate the call. Thanks so much. We're going to continue getting to these calls. Brian, you're going to be up next. Fellow homeowners, Jeff Hunt here today and I've got something truly special to share with you. Ever dreamt of effortlessly transforming your home into a haven of organization and efficiency? Well, listen up, because I've got just the solution for you. Roll 'em Out Shelves. Let me paint you a picture of my recent experience with Joyce and Brent from Roll 'em Out Shelves. It was like having family walk through my door. Seriously, these folks aren't just professionals. They're meticulous, caring, and so personable. Working with them felt like having my mom and brother right there beside me, kind, considerate, and always making sure everything was just right. Let me tell you, their attention to detail is unparalleled. They measured every nook and cranny, asked all the right questions, and ensured that every shelf and drawer was tailor-made to fit my needs perfectly. The result? Say goodbye to chaos and hello to beautifully organized shelves showcasing all my essentials. But here's the best part. You don't have to break the bank for this type of transformation. For less than $1,000, you can embark on your very own home makeover journey with Roll 'em Out Shelves. And let me assure you, these shelves are built to last, crafted from sturdy Baltic birch built right here in Colorado and backed by a lifetime guarantee. You can trust that your space will stay organized for years to come. So what are you waiting for? Give Joyce and Brent, the dynamic duo behind Roll 'em Out Shelves, a call today at 303-475-9601 or visit their website at rollemoutshelves.com for your free in-home estimate. Trust me, folks, the process is a breeze. You'll never look back. And hey, don't forget to tell them Jeff sent you. Let's get to Melissa, and then we'll get to Brian. Melissa, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Melissa.
Good morning. I just have a comment about the masks. If they're so proud of what they're doing, is there any way that we can make these masks go away? It seems like the Democrats want the masks for all kinds of reasons.
Well, I mean, Melissa, compare them. That's a really good point. Compare them with the March for Life, where everybody's just smiling, happy. You know, they're full of love and joy. No one's hiding their faces at the March for Life compared to this, where everybody's hiding their faces because they know what they're doing is wrong.
Yeah, and even the protests in Seattle and stuff like that, it seems like some of the nastiest ones have masks on. Like, how can we make those go away?
Yeah, good question, Melissa. Melissa from Lakewood, I appreciate the call. Her line will be open 303-696-1971. Here's a good text message here. By the way, text us on the 710 KNUS app and let us know your first name and where you're from. You know, Jeff, anybody that sees their child on TV down there needs to get down there, grab them by the hair, drag them out of there, and get them home If you've got a child you see acting like this, do something about it. 5311. Let's go to Brian in Arvada. Brian, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Brian.
Hey, good morning, Jeff. You know, I'm watching these protests with my dad, and he's old enough that he was in middle school when the schools were desegregated. And the hatred and the vile coming out of these people's mouths towards Jewish people, he says it's exactly what the Klan did.
Yeah.
And how they shouted and spitted and threatened these individuals that were forced, you know, to integrate. And and he said, I just don't understand it. We're going backwards here. It's like the new racism, but it's global. And if these students knew the rights violations that were going on in these countries towards women, towards children, towards gay people, they're cheering for it. Because of their hatred for Jews, they'll shelf the discrimination that occurs in these countries. They're clueless. They're drones. It shows our liberal education system is absolutely broken. And someone's got to stand up like Reagan. Somebody's got to stand up. DeSantis is doing it. He's the closest to Reagan we've got right now.
I agree.
And we got to end this. I'm teaching my kids this is hatred. This is not a protest. This is hate going all the way back to the 60s and early 70s. And we have to stand against it now.
Brian, I agree entirely with you. That is, you remember Reagan had to deal with the protesters in Berkeley. I'm trying to remember what that was all about. And it basically had to push back against them as well. But yeah, I mean, telling your kids that this is hatred towards Jews, which it is. This is not a policy discussion. Sorry. Those happen in classrooms. This is banning Jews from being able to attend classes, blocking them, harassing them. One Yale student, Jewish student, had her eye poked and injured as a result of these protesters. No, they are shouting death to America, death to Jews. This is unacceptable. We're not going to put up with it in this country, and we're going to stand with the Jews in this case. I mean, this is just, I'm glad, Brian, I'm glad you said that. Thank you. Brian from Arvada's line is open, 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971. Let's go to Steve in Denver. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning.
Hi, Bill. I'm a Democrat. I've been involved in the civil rights space my entire life. And this is just unconscionable. And the historic precedent of the Democratic Party, and you go back to during the civil rights movement, you had a coalition of Christians, Jews, Republicans, and Democrats, fighting the racism in the South and continuing. And I'm afraid that this is, as horrid as this is, I almost think it's almost underestimated because this anti-Semitism can take off like a brush fire. And people of every single faith, sector, dimension should do everything possible to quelch this. And when you were describing the film, and I'm well aware of it, this is just an unconscionable threat. And, I just don't think we can act strongly enough to deny this. And the idiot that Blake was playing, that clip of the person talking about Zionism, this is unbelievable. It's happening in this country.
Yeah. Steve, I appreciate, first of all the work you did on civil rights. Thank you for making our country better doing that. Tell me, you mentioned you're a Democrat. Are you still a Democrat?
Well, I am. And in fact, I worked in the campaign against Elizabeth Epps. There's a segment of the Democratic Party, that is not the Democratic Party today. It was strong defense. It was strong support abroad. It was strong support for civil rights. There's that whole segment that I don't think President Reagan would recognize the current Republicans, and I don't think Jack Kennedy would recognize the current Democrats.
I think that's a fair critique. Give me a sense of where you think Elizabeth Epps and Tim Hernandez are now in the party. I know they have challengers, I believe, in this upcoming primary. Do you think they're going to remain in office?
Unfortunately, I think they're at least in Colorado, I think they're gaining a greater slice of the party.
Really?
I think old-fashioned traditional Democrats are kind of out of fashion now. So it's very, very frightening. I mean, it's anti-law and order, total about, kind of a nihilism.
Wow. What would you have? I mean, we have leaders of Democrat parties. You have Jared Polis. You have John Hickenlooper. You have Michael Bennett. You have the chairman of the Democrat Party here in Colorado. I think his name's Shad. What's your message to the leadership of the party right now?
Well, my message would be that you have to stand strong in support of the Jewish faith and the Jewish people. It's one thing to advocate, if you have people advocate my message is stop these protests, because as you said, they're not just protesting a policy dispute. First of all, they're interfering with many of the students, Jewish and non-students, being able to access and enjoy the campuses, which they and their parents have spent fortunes to attend. And more than that, some of these I just think people have never studied history. From the river to the sea means nothing other than genocide, exterminating Israel, eliminating the Jewish people from that space.
You're exactly right. Steve, I appreciate it. That's what I love, the Jeff and Bill show. You got Republicans and Democrats calling in. Steve, we'll always have a line open for you. Steve from Denver.
I'm a regular. I'm a daily.
I love it. Thank you so much, brother. Steve's line will be open, 303-696-1971. Give us a call. What you think about these protests happening on college campuses around the country? I mean, think of this is, man, if you get these graduations canceled, there's a lot to get angry about on all this stuff, but you have families that have sacrificed a lot, parents that have taken 2 jobs to pay for their kids to get an education so they can have a better future. And that celebration, that moment is going to be, quote, online or, give me a break. These idiots down protesting, arrest them, fire any professor that's joining with them, and get control of your campuses. Look, we all want a kinder, gentler way to experience wellness and overcome pain. I'm thriving and fighting back my workout soreness with UltraCur. UltraCur is a patented, non-prescription natural capsule that works fast. Surveys show that 50% of people using UltraCur find relief within 48 hours, and half of those within 2 hours. Experience UltraCur for free. Go to any Denver Metro natural grocers and ask for the health coach or the vitamin manager for your free 3-day trial of UltraCur. UltraCur is fueled by patented technology to give you the true edge to support your peak wellness, energy, and active lifestyle. If you've tried everything without much success, even other natural curcumin products, you owe it to yourself to try UltraCur today. UltraCur gives you unique control over your daily wellness. It's gentle on your stomach, and it's a natural antioxidant. Get curious, Denver. Head to the natural grocers, grab your free 3-day UltraCur trial with no strings attached. Wondering about the research? Get the lowdown at getultranow.com. That's getultranow.com. We'll continue with your calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour in London, I'm Julia Chapman, and here are the top stories we're following. 4 law enforcement officers have died after they were among 8 to be shot in a gun battle in North Carolina. A task force led by the U.S. Marshals Service attended a property in Charlotte to issue a warrant to a suspect accused of illegal firearm possession. Gunfire broke out between the officers and 2 assailants. After a standoff lasting some 3 hours, police eventually smashed their way into the building using armored vehicles. One suspected attacker was found dead, while a woman and a 17-year-old boy who were inside at the time are being questioned. The U.S. and its fellow G7 nations have agreed to phase out coal power stations by 2035. The Italian government, which is hosting a meeting of G7 energy ministers, said an initial agreement was reached on Monday. Giles Gibson has more from Rome.
This is a significant step because it's the first time that the G7 nations have agreed to a specific timeline when it comes to phasing out coal power stations. However, while this latest deal from the G7 does include large economies such as the US and Japan, it does not cover China or India, who are 2 of the world's biggest users of coal.
And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Julia Chapman in London on Salem News Channel.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. It's going to be a nice day today. 71 degrees and sunny. Tomorrow, 70. Thursday, 58. Friday, 67. And then climbs back up. Warmer Saturday and Sunday. It's going to be nice this weekend. That's good ranch work weekend. Kelly, I like that. Let's check in on the news with Blake Olson. Blake, what are you working on for us?
Well, Jeff, yesterday we had Englewood police in a pursuit and a shooting. And then this morning, Thornton police, an officer involved in a chase and a shooting in Lakewood, unfortunately. So there may be some traffic delays out there. It's just so dangerous. And it's just craziness out there. We'll talk about that, update you on that. And then I'll answer some of your questions on this Kamani James. I mean, I could play literally like 50 sound bites from him that are absolutely crazy. He's a Columbia student, and he was one of the organizers of this, all this stuff going on with the protests and the support of Hamas in New York. And when you hear what he has to say, you will be shocked again. So that's coming up.
There's receipts. There's receipts,
yes,
people.
Absolutely.
We're talking these protests are taking place in Columbia. Overnight, Columbia protesters occupying a campus hall. And now CCD, the Community College of Denver, canceling in-person classes because of safety concerns during protests at Aurora campus. A good text message here. Johnny from Denver. Johnny J., why do Democrats think their party cares about students going to school? Look what they did during COVID. Tip of the hat. Good reminder of the fact that they didn't seem to mind keeping you out of the classroom during COVID. Let's go to Neil in Wheat Ridge. Neil, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Neil.
Good morning. How are you, Jeff?
I'm doing great. Pray for Billy. We got to get him back in here. He's not feeling well these days.
Yeah, but you got to admit, with him out, it does make you sound a little stronger. So, you know.
There you go. What do you got for us, Neil?
Well, I'm just tired of all this. I mean, I get engaged through certain media areas about what's going on, but it doesn't matter if it's Columbia or CCD or UCLA or whatever. These, I call them morons. And I'm going to stick to that. But it's one thing to have protests, but when you are supporting terrorism, a known terrorist group, to me that's nothing but being a traitor. I'm sorry, but that's like supporting those that crashed into the Twin Towers.
Yeah, that, and I mean, actively blocking Jews. Listen to this audio here. This is a UCLA.
They call it. They call it peaceful, but no.
No, Neil, listen to this. Get your reaction on this in a second. This is a Jewish UCLA student just trying to go to class.
You guys have closed the entrance. We are UCLA students. I have my ID right here. I'm being blocked off, not by the security guard, but by you two. You three. Oh, look, they're making their burger while I'm going this way. Excuse me. This is what they do. Everybody, look at this. Look at this. I'm a UCLA student. I deserve to go here. We pay tuition. This is our school. And they're not letting me walk in. My class is over there. I want to use that entrance. Well, I can't take it. Will you let me go in? This can be over in a second. Just let me and my friends go in to class.
We're not engaging.
Then you can move. Will you move?
We're not engaging with that.
Okay, we're going. We're going. I'm going in. I have my hands up. I'm not hurting them.
And we don't see the video if he ever gets past them. Neil, what do you think of that?
I saw that video yesterday, and what's surprising is that I think this young man actually has a shot at being more of a voice, because if he's the same one I'm thinking of, I saw a different video of that same campus later on where he's actually engaged with some crazy lady shouting at him, and he's doing a flag and he's trying to show his support for Israel, and this lady is just going on a rant. So I think some people are actually going to be stepping out of this with some leadership going on the Jewish side that they don't currently have represented.
That would be a silver lining. Neil, I appreciate it. Neil from Wheat Ridge, his line's open, 303-696-1971. Let's go to Tony in Littleton. Tony, good morning. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Hey, good morning.
I don't necessarily have, a statement that an answer to the campuses, but I disagree with oversimplifying it. That we're missing Judeo-Christian values in school, and 40 years of what they've been taught. I think it's more complicated, but I'm always concerned that I don't think you're even asking the right questions, and that will help get to an answer. When this broke, you weren't hosting at the time. I called into George and got him, and this was right after Biden had come out and said the U.S. has Israel's back. So let's be clear to the rest of the world. We've got their back, which was the right thing to do. Absolutely the right thing to do. And at that time I said, that's great, but now we'll be painted with whatever people think of Israel is what they're going to think of us. And this could get pretty tricky as the death toll goes up, because over half the population is children, which I think is a motivator of what's going on campuses. But the questions that you got to ask yourself, I think, is this is all over the globe. This is all over the world. These campus protests, it's not just the United States. It's across the globe. And forget that it's happening in Arab countries, because they're Arabs and they're going to have a conflict no matter what with Israel. Well, we're talking about their allies. We're talking about in the UK, France, Germany, the Netherlands. This is going on all over the globe. So ask yourself, why is that happening? Then I think another really important question. On October 7th, when that happened, everybody this phrase, we're all Jewish now. We that was horrific. We've got your back. You can count on us. They had that. And here we are 6 months later, and they've lost the support of their strongest allies around the globe. Why? And we could talk about those answers, but there's not enough time. That's another question. How did that happen? How did they lose control of this situation?
Tony, do you think Hamas should be allowed to continue to operate?
No, I think part of the answer is Hamas is not going to be able to have control inside of Palestine or whatever is left of Palestine. But I also am of the mindset, if it's choice chessboard, you can do three things. You can push them all out, but they have nowhere to go. So just push them into the water. You can kill them all, kill every single one of them. Now, if those two solutions aren't the solution, then what's that leave? It leaves some kind of political solution. And fortunately, Biden's administration and the UK and Germany and France and the Netherlands, and everybody knows that. But they're working against the most right-wing government that Israel's ever had. And they have specifically a leader in Netanyahu who has personal stake in this game beyond just defending Israel. I mean, he was fighting for his job.
But even
before this happened.
Tony, even Benjamin Netanyahu's opponent is supporting the tactics that the Netanyahu government is doing to defeat Hamas. And I don't think anybody's against a political solution, but you cannot have terrorists. This is the result of the October 7th attack. You cannot have terrorists continue to operate alongside your borders. They need to be eliminated.
If let me paint just a scenario, and you tell me if the situation wouldn't be different on our campuses with the support of Israel. And I talked about this way back then, when they clear out those areas, they cleared out the north. If Israel had said, all right, we're going to now start moving back the women and children. We're going to move the women and children and men over 60 back to the north. And we're going to put them in tents, and we're going to give them medical treatment. Yeah. We're going to feed them. We're going to ask the United Nations to provide the security forces around those people to protect them from Hamas itself. And we'll move the civilians out. Now, that would have been expensive, time-consuming, would have cost.
And Tony,
more lives
that's
of Israel.
that's a policy debate, which I think is perfectly fine to have. But when you have people on college campuses calling for the death of Jews and blocking them and assaulting them, that is what
Not defending that. Not defending that in any way,
I think
shape.
that's where we agree. I appreciate it, Tony. I'm out of time. Thanks for the call. Tony's line will be open here in just a second. Give us a call if you'd like, 303-696-1971. We'll continue with your calls and texts. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Coming up, I want to dive into the Denver Post weapons editorial. You'll never believe. They're fine with your rights if it just wasn't for other people killing other people. Yes, that's actually an argument made from the Denver Post weapons editorial. So we'll get into that in the 8 o'clock hour. You're not going to want to miss that. And then 9 o'clock, the physician, the doctor who treated Saddam Hussein after he was captured by Allied forces, by American forces. We're going to interview him. It's going to be a fascinating conversation. He's got a new documentary out. Plus, he's doing work to continue to serve soldiers even after he's left his direct service to our country. So a great guy, Dr. Sandeep Bose, is going to join us in the 9 o'clock hour. So a whole lot to cover. Thank you to all the callers and texts that we had on this conversation. Again, the news breaking over the night: Columbia protesters occupy Campus Hall, and the Community College of Denver canceling in-person classes for the remaining week of school. The leftists, Marxists are in control. So if you missed any of that, you can go listen to that on the podcast. 710knus.com is the podcast there. Oh, the Denver Post. Kelly, it's always good. It's just always really good content to be able to go. I'm going to go line by line through this. I'm going to go line by line through this editorial from the Denver Post about how you are the problem. You law-abiding gun owner, you are the problem. And we need to ban assault weapons in Colorado to save lives in the next mass shooting. Colorado lawmakers have a clear and compelling interest in limiting mass casualty events by banning the sale of assault weapons. Yes. We're going to get through this line by line. You're not going to want to miss it. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show. News Talk 710 KNUS. 8 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe. Bill, brother, we're praying for you. He's not feeling well. It's having kids in the house, man. That's just what happens. You know, that happens with me, too. I've got some kids that aren't feeling well right now, too. It's just they bring it home. But we pray you get recovered quickly, brother, and get back in here so you can debate me. Right now, it's just conservative talk. We need some independent analysis, Bill. It's going to be another beautiful day in America's greatest city, and we're gearing up for a whole another hour of engaging discussions, critical analysis, and most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab your cup of coffee, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Phone lines are open. Give us a call, 303-696-1971, or text us on the 710 KNUS app. When you do that, make sure to let us know your name and your first name and location. It always helps us know and where these thoughts are coming from, how people feel about them. In just a second, I'm going to dive into this editorial. You legal gun owners, we need to ban assault weapons in Colorado to save lives in the next mass shooting, from the Denver Post. I want to get your thoughts on this as well. But before we do that, let's dive into the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Morning, Jeff. 50 and sunny in Denver, expecting highs in the low 70s today. The 710 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, Thornton police say an officer was involved in a shooting in Lakewood after a pursuit this morning. Police investigating. No reports of any injuries or what led to the pursuit. It occurred before 7 o'clock this morning. A suspect named David Sonsalo was shot by police during a pursuit that had began in Englewood and ended in a 3-car crash at Mineral near Santa Fe on Monday. Sonsalo suspiciously drove a vehicle toward officers, causing police to fire in self-defense. He then led police on a pursuit before crashing into 2 vehicles at Mineral Avenue, injuring 2 people. The Community College of Denver on the Auraria campus has canceled in-person classes this week amid ongoing pro-Hamas protests against Israel. The college's president sent out an email to students announcing that the cancellations on Monday would occur just minutes before a planned walkout was ready to begin, citing safety issues. This is the last full week of classes before finals. As a result, students will have to go remote for the final week. And Hamas supporters at Columbia University in New York breaking laws again overnight. They posted on X that dozens of students occupy Hamilton Hall in protest of what it calls the university's complicity in genocide. Columbia is suspending students who refuse to leave the encampment on campus. Now, Kamani James is one of the students, and he's one of the leaders in all these protests. Now, the administration knew about him and what he said, not to mention the death threats that he made to Jews on campus, and they talked to him before all this started, and this was that conversation.
I'm Kamani James. I use he, she, they pronouns. Zionists in my DM wanting to meet up and fight. I don't fight to injure or for there to be a winner or a loser. I fight to kill. See y'all in New York, January 2024.
Do you see why that's problematic in any way?
No, I think there is a serious weight in taking someone's life. And at the same time, I think that taking someone's life in certain case scenarios is necessary.
And then he goes on. Yeah, he goes on to compare Jews. This is just shows you the ignorance. He compares Jews to Hitler. And they had to off Hitler. They had to kill Hitler. So, Zionists need to be killed. So these are the type of ignorant students running around.
That is DEI and all worked out, right? There
no
is
question.
No reason
wrapped
for that
up into
guy
one.
to be on Columbia's college. Do you know how hard it is? It should be to get into Columbia.
Should be.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Right?
you
It's
would
an
think.
elite Ivy League school in New York. It should be difficult, the very best of the best that we're going to train to lead this country. And you got that nitwit who somehow got a seat at that table.
Incredible.
That's
in
DEI,
New York,
man.
in New York City, just telling Jews that they need to be killed off. Incredible. No, I agree with you. Colorado Representative Richard Holtorf called the show this morning and talked to Jeff, and he's been trying to support Israel and protect Jews against Hamas in Colorado for months with a resolution.
Resolution, to paraphrase, said that we support Israel and we support their ability to defend themselves, and we condemn Hamas as a terrorist organization who attacked Israel. But Speaker McCluskey will not allow that resolution to be read across the desk and brought down to the House chamber. And what is most disappointing, we have Jewish American Democrats in the House chamber. They will not promote and push for this resolution to be read forward for political reasons.
Well, hopefully that'll change their minds with everything going on, and eyes will be opened. Hopefully. The campaign derailment trial against former President Trump continues today in New York. The American people hopefully are waking up to understanding all the political lawfare that is going on. 48 in Arvada, 51 in Lone Tree, 50 in Denver.
Jokic a screen, Murray to try to break the tie. No timeout by the Lakers. They got to go. James, a bump, a feed, a clinch shot. No. Zero's on the clock. The Nuggets advance.
Jamal Murray.
Man, knocks it down, drives to his left, little off balance, nice little touch shot. 108, 106 in Lodo. Let's see, he had 32. Jokic had 25 points, 20 boards, 9 assists. Next up, Minnesota, the Timberwolves on Saturday. And Kelly Michaels is fired up for tonight. Avalanche try to wrap up their opening round series against Winnipeg and the Jets.
We're going to get Bill back so that Kelly can watch that show and stay up late.
Absolutely. Get his popcorn and go to bed late and everything. And get in here late at, 8:30, 7:30?
We're in a totally different world than everybody else.
Boy, isn't that the truth? It's so true. Stefan used to talk about this all the time, and man, he was right. There is no question about that. Rockies start a new series today in Miami against the Marlins at Lone Depot Park. And I'm going to give it back to Jeff. It is Tuesday. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
The 7-10 5-day forecast, sunny to partly sunny, a little breezy today, high 65 to 70, gusty west winds of 15 to 30. Lows tonight in the lower 40s. Partly cloudy on Wednesday, a high near 70. Wednesday afternoon and evening and Wednesday night could bring a chance for showers and thunderstorms. It will be cooler, back down to the 60s Thursday and Friday, and Thursday, Friday into Saturday, some scattered showers and thunderstorms possible. Meteorologist Don Day on 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. All right, so yesterday, in our analysis of the White House Correspondents' Dinner, we made the argument that Joe Biden was sending a strong message to all the media elite that democracy is under threat, that they know their role. They need to step up to defend this country against the threat of Donald Trump. That was literally his speech at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. The next day, here's MSNBC.
I've seen that toast a bunch of times, but it landed very differently this year because depending on what happens in November, 7 months from right now, this time next year, I might not be sitting here. There might not be a White House Correspondents' Dinner or a free press. While our democracy, I've seen that toast a bunch of times, but it landed very differently this year because depending on what happens in November, 7 months from right now, this time next year, I might not be sitting here. There might not be a White House Correspondents' Dinner or a free press. While our democracy didn't exactly fall apart immediately without it, the real threat looms larger. A candidate with outward disdain, not just for a free press, but for all of our freedoms and for the rule of law itself.
Candidate with disdain for all of our freedoms. Man, she would get an A if she was a student. Joe Biden goes up there and is like, all right, media, I need you to do something. You know what you need to do in your heart and make sure that Donald Trump is not elected. The next day, she's like, I got you, professor. Runs out there and says, Donald Trump is a threat to all of our freedoms if he gets elected. Oh, my gosh. Nobody trusts you guys anymore. Do you realize that? You're a bunch of buffoons, you liberal media establishment, and nobody trusts you at all anymore. You take your stupid marching orders from the top, and then you just go out there and say it all to everybody. Donald Trump's not going to take away anybody's freedom. He's already been the president. It was the best dang 4 years MSNBC had ever had because they actually got to keep somebody accountable. Instead of asking, what's your favorite ice cream, Joe Biden? And nobody watched it and nobody tuned in because it was stupid journalism. Now you actually get to hold somebody in power accountable, which you should be doing, but you're not. You should be begging Donald Trump to be in office because it's the only thing that's going to actually get your ratings out of the toilet is where they are. Oh, yeah, it's going to take away my rights. He was in the presidency for 4 years. It was the best 4 years you had. Oh, my gosh, that got me so... One day later, they do that. All right, speaking of dopes in the media, the Denver Post editorial ban assault weapons in Colorado to save lives in the next mass shooting. Colorado lawmakers have a clear and compelling interest in eliminating mass casualty events by banning the sale of assault weapons. Dictated from on high at the Denver Post, semi-automatic guns with detachable magazines are a unique threat to government power. Public safety, having been designed specifically to unleash bullets rapidly while reducing reloading time to seconds. Yes, that's how the guns work. Colorado lawmakers have a clear and compelling interest in limiting mass casualty events by banning the sale of these weapons, and House Bill 1292 would save lives. The bill, which passed the Colorado House but now faces a tough road ahead in the Senate, defines assault weapons generally as semi-automatic guns, both pistols and rifles, that has a detachable magazine and one other feature in a list of things designed to make the gun easier to wield in an active shooter environment. The bill also includes the destructive big sniper rifles in the ban because of their ability to be used as long-range sniper rifle capable of penetrating cars and walls. We saw the deadly effect of these guns on March 22nd when a shooter stalked his victims through a Boulder King Soopers, firing repeatedly at employees and shoppers using a Ruger AR-556 pistol that he had legally purchased 6 days earlier. 10 innocent store employees and customers were killed. The article goes on to discuss some other ones. Colorado lawmakers limited other shootings that took place. Colorado lawmakers limited high-capacity magazines in response to 15 rounds of ammunition, a decision that perhaps limited the death toll in Boulder as police closed in on the suspect exchanging fires. Coloradans know the outcomes of these shootings are different when the guns are less efficient killing machines. Yes, it makes sense. At Arapahoe High School, Claire Davis was the first and only victim of a student who walked through the door with a shotgun intent on killing a specific teacher, but killing Davis, whom he passed in the hallway of the school. Davis was a beloved student and daughter. The community's loss was great, but could have been tenfold had the shooter had an assault weapon. That is not true. George Brockler said on this program that it was the confrontation from police that stopped that. So quick reaction from police, not necessarily the weapon. They go on to describe what happened to Kendrick Castillo, hero. Every time I drive by the way, on C-470, I love to see that we've named that portion there, Kendrick Castillo Memorial Highway. And what it does, because if you know the Castillos, I'm taking a little tangent here. These are like the greatest people ever. John and Maria are incredible. And they love their son, and they train their son to give his life for his friends. It was because of their faith that John did that. And every time I see it, it not only reminds me of Kendrick and reminds me of the Castillos, it also reminds me of my kids. And I'm just really glad that Douglas County named that portion of C-470 after Kendrick Castillo. Continuing with the Denver Post editorial, House Bill 1292 would not have prevented what happened in Las Vegas. It wouldn't have. Do we even really know what happened in Las Vegas? Does anybody know why that guy's motive? I never seen anything about why that really happened. But anyways, it wouldn't have prevented it. The shooter stockpiled weapons for years, and the bill before the Colorado Senate this week would not ban possession of assault weapons already owned by Coloradans, but only bans the sale and transfer of the guns. Here's a question I do have for folks. Please text me. I ran into a guy the other day that said he's already, because of this bill, transferred his weapons to his adult children, because this will ban the transfer of guns. So if this passes, do you need to now make sure you transfer the ownership to your adult children? Because I think it will. I think this will prevent that from happening as you get older. But the bill would force the next mass shooter just now hatching plans of slaughter to steal or purchase illegally the same guns used in Vegas, a barrier that could reduce the death toll or even prevent a mass killing event. An FBI report released in 2018 found that 40% of all shooters purchased their guns legally in the weeks leading up to the planned attack. Okay, so hold on. 40% of mass shooters followed gun laws and purchased their guns legally in the weeks leading up to the planned attack. Okay, so you're still going to have a portion, even until you ban all guns, that's still going to happen. Well, about 35% of shooters already own the weapons they used in their crimes. So 40 plus 35 is 75. So you're looking at about 25% of mass shootings are not going to be affected at all because they steal, find their guns, that type of thing, buy them, purchase them illegally on the black market, whatever. So you're looking at about 25% that are going to do that no matter what, 40% that are going to shoot people no matter what they want to do because they're going to purchase the guns, and then the other 35% already own the weapons. So so far in this op-ed, we haven't gotten to the real problem, which is why people do this to begin with. We're just trying to take guns away. That's the whole point of this. I continue. Repeatedly, stretching back not just a decade, but centuries, American courts have held that none of our rights are absolute. This is where they get it very, very wrong. The U.S. and state governments can regulate the time, place, and manner of free speech and assembly. Students arrested at Palestinian support protests this week, that's the wrong term, by the way, it's anti-Jewish pro-terrorist supports this week on college campuses across the U.S. are learning this lesson, just as those who built shantytowns to protest apartheid in the 1980s. And I really appreciated that little nugget that took place in this editorial, that those that are out there supporting Palestinians are like those that tried to protest against apartheid. Same people, right? Same vision, same idea that what we're doing. No, absolutely not. By the way, they're not being arrested because of time, place, and manner violations. They're getting arrested because they're intimidating Jewish students, blocking them. They're being jerks. Anyways, free speech and assembly, the Denver Post continues, that disrupts a school, business, or is conducted on private property can be regulated. Okay. So yes, you can manage free speech in time, location, and manner. Here's what they haven't done. Taken your free speech right away in your own home. This is where the argument is so stupid to me that, okay, yes, you cannot carry a weapon into a courtroom. Yes, you cannot carry a weapon into the Nuggets game. Yes, okay, that would be the equivalent of a free speech time, manner, and place restriction and a Second Amendment restriction. But in this case, what this bill does down at the state capitol is takes it away, period, forever. You can't buy it. You can't transfer it. Eventually, they're going to want to take away your ability to even own it. But this equation, that they try to do with free speech and Second Amendment rights is stupid. And it's just flat out wrong. They continue, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Can they just read the freaking Second Amendment? It says it right there. Shall not be infringed. But they continue. House Bill 1292 makes critical exceptions, allowing active members of the U.S. military and the Colorado National Guard to purchase the weapons restricted by the legislation, and it allows police officers and armored vehicle guards to purchase these weapons for their jobs. For 1 second, I would love the left to be able to read their own writings and comprehend what they just said. They just told me, these people that want to defund the police because of how systemically racist they are, how terrible the military-industrial complex is, and how overbearing our government can be, just made the argument that the only people that should have guns are the oppressive government. Gosh. For the love, read your own writing sometimes, guys. So they're perfectly fine if members of the U.S. military, the Colorado National Guard, and all those police officers that we sued into the ground during BLM because they're systemically racist and oppressive, we'll make sure they still have guns while you, the law-abiding citizen, the patriotic American, cannot. They continue. The bill does not infringe on the right to keep and bear arms. It only places reasonable and necessary regulations on the capabilities of guns sold in Colorado. As you've seen with everything else the left does, it's never about what they ultimately aim to do, which is take away your guns. It's this incrementalism. So we're going to stop your ability to sell guns and purchase AR-15s or even transfer quote unquote assault weapons, which would include like most pistols out there. They're semi-automatic, which with detachable magazines. We're not going to, you can still own them, but we're just not going to let you. They're eventually trying to take away your guns. The U.S. Supreme Court has repeatedly ruled, they continue, that guns can be regulated. The standard has been set through numerous cases that the Second Amendment protects guns that are, quote, in common use at the time. Are semi-automatic weapons with detachable magazines in common use? Statistics tell us that there are millions of these guns in circulation, a fact attorneys are likely to latch onto if the bill ever becomes law when the law is challenged. And thank God for the Rocky Mountain gun owners challenging these. House Bill 1292 will still allow manufacturers to sell semi-automatic weapons as long as the magazine is permanently affixed. What does that even mean? Or is the magazine, how do you have a permanently affixed gun magazine? Like, how do you please tell me, how do you reload a gun with a permanently fixed magazine? You have to reload it one by one? We're back to like muskets. Hold on, robber. I've got to, stick the wad back down and the gunpowder and all that. Allow me to defend myself, good man, but please pause while I reload my musket. The gun will not include features designed to make it more efficient and tactical in combat. This reasonable regulation of guns should pass constitutional muster. It won't. If students can get forcibly removed for preventing class from being conducted, regardless of their message. Deadly weapons can be reined in to make Americans safer. No, this goes back to my argument. You're making the point that, yeah, you can't take a gun to the Nuggets game, but you should still be able to own and operate this in your house. The equivalent would be taking away the ability to speak freely in your own home. All right, I'm going to continue on. We do see, however, the long list of banned guns in the bill is superfluous and inflammatory. Manufacturers can adjust to comply with the law without having legislation that targets their product names. The bill does get one thing wrong. Coloradans who own these guns. This is what really got me, okay? Variant. Coloradans who own these guns, like the ubiquitous and popular AK-47. Really? Is that ubiquitous? I know the AR-15s are, but AK-47s are? I don't know anybody. Do you know anybody who owns an AK-47? I don't know anybody. Probably Taylor Rhodes has one. Are using them for legal activities like hunting, range shooting, competitions, and self-defense. Almost all these gun owners are law-abiding citizens who own these guns responsibly. This is what really got me. If mass shootings weren't proliferating, if the threat weren't so real and imminent, we would not regulate these guns. I hope you laughed out loud when you read that, and maybe even wept a little bit. So you, the law-abiding citizen, the person who has followed all the rules in their life, has done everything right by the book, has these guns to protect your family because you believe that a well-armed citizenry is a check on tyranny. You followed all the rules out there. It's not you that's the problem. It's them that's the problem. But this government is going to take away your rights. That is what the Denver Post editorial board ultimately argued. You are having your rights stripped, your God-given rights stripped because of what those guys did. Never once in this article did they come up with any idea on how to address the person pulling the trigger. Never once. That is the problem with the left. That is the problem with the people in control of this state. They have no interest in abiding by the Constitution, by allowing those that follow the rules to get what's duly just to them. Right? You did it right your entire life. You should be able to own the weapon you want. Instead, because of what those guys did, the bad guys did, we're going to take away your rights. What did you think of this editorial? Give me a call, 303-696-1971. 303-696-1971. We'll get to your text messages as well. Sorry, I got fired up on this when I read that. Gosh, you guys, you do it right. You get up each day, you go to work, you pay your taxes, you raise your kids, and it's your rights that get taken away, not the people creating the crimes. That is what got me on that editorial. Denver Post making the argument that you are the ones who need to have your rights taken away. All right, fellow homeowners, I've got something truly special to share with you. Ever dreamt of effortlessly transforming your home into a haven of organization and efficiency? Well, listen up, because I got just the solution for you. Roll 'em Out Shelves. Let me paint you a picture of my recent experience with Joyce and Brent from Roll 'em Out Shelves. It was like having family walk through my door. Seriously, these folks aren't just professionals. They're meticulous, caring, and so personable. Working with them felt like having my mom and brother right there beside me, kind, considerate, and always making sure everything was just right. And let me tell you, their attention to detail is unparalleled. They measure every nook and cranny, asked all the right questions, and ensured that every shelf and drawer was tailor-made to fit my needs perfectly. The result? Say goodbye to chaos and hello to beautifully organized shelves, showcasing all my essentials. But here's the best part. You don't have to break the bank for this type of transformation. For less than $1,000, you can embark on your very own home makeover journey with Roll 'em Out Shelves. And let me assure you, these shelves are built to last, crafted from sturdy Baltic birch, built right here in Colorado, and backed for a lifetime guarantee. You can't you can trust that your space will stay organized for years to come. So what are you waiting for? Give Joyce and Brent, the dynamic duo behind Roll 'Em Out Shelves, a call today at 303-475-9601. That's 303-475-9601, or visit their website at rollemoutshelves.com for your free in-home estimate. Trust me, folks, the process is a breeze and you'll never look back. Visit rollemoutshelves.com and be sure to tell them Jeff sent you. We'll get to your calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710, KNUS.
At this hour in London, I'm Julia Chapman, and here are the top stories we're following. Elon Musk has wrapped up his trip to China, where he appears to have secured deals that will pave the way for Tesla to roll out a self-driving system in the country. During his visit, Musk reportedly clinched a deal with web search giant Baidu, which will offer navigation functions which China's government strictly controls. Musk also obtained data security approval for the company's electric vehicles in China, which is the world's largest car market. Shares in Tesla closed up more than 15% higher on Monday after a dip in recent weeks amid flagging sales. Public health experts are cautioning alcohol drinkers that less or none at all is better for one's overall health. In New York, Haley Bianco explains.
Moderate drinking was once thought to have some benefits for the heart, but new research says otherwise. A growing number of public health experts say if you choose to drink alcohol, you should drink as little as possible. The reevaluation of alcohol's perceived benefits comes as researchers identify shortcomings of prior studies. There's also a growing awareness of the link between alcohol and cancer. Experts say that drinking raises the risk of several types of cancer, including colon, liver, breast, mouth, and throat.
And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Julia Chapman in London on Salem News Channel.
All right, we're talking this Denver Post editorial calling your assault weapons, quote unquote assault weapons, which is pretty much a lot of weapons out there, should be banned, even though it's not your fault, even though other people have created this scenario where we have mass shootings and people are dying, but it's your rights that need to be taken away. The argument from the Denver Post editorial. Some good text messages coming in here. Well, so now the statistics will change from 40% of all mass shootings legally purchasing to 100% of all mass shooters illegally purchasing guns with their passing of this ridiculous bill. 7061. Thanks. Here's a good one. 5637. If Abe Layden, Douglas County Commissioner, repaid the county for his Harvard tuition, that would be half the cost to rename Lucent Kendrick Castillo Street. I love that idea. Let's do that. Kendrick Castillo Street. P.S. He should be canonized as a martyr. I agree. He gave his life for his friends. He was literally following the biblical teaching. Remember Kendrick Castillo in the STEM shooting? It was him that stopped the shooter. It was him that did that. And the Castillos are wonderful, wonderful people. A good text message here from Rob in Knoxville. All my bolt action rifles have fixed magazine. Box magazines. My shotguns have fixed 2 magazines. And many of my 22s have fixed 2 magazines. I agree with you, but fixed magazines are quite common. I don't know. I have a few weapons, but I don't have that amount of knowledge. So I really appreciate when people who have good knowledge text in. By the way, I own an AK-74, which is the new version of the AK-47 and shoots a smaller round, more like a 5.56 that shoots the M16 shoots. It has a removable 30-round magazine. Wow. Is that even allowed in this state? I don't know. Maybe Knoxville, maybe he's in a different state as well. Rob, I really appreciate the text. Thanks so much for diving in and giving us some details on this. Let's go to David in Thornton. David, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, David.
Good morning to you. I look at Palestinians are Hamas human shields. That's all they are, Hamas human shields.
Yeah, it's terrible what they do there to their own people, hiding many of their military operations in hospitals and schools and using their own people to shield their military. It's just terrible.
I agree, but I think some of these people should realize they're pro-Palestinians. Well, they want to be use Palestinians as shields.
Yeah, right. Send them back out there. You want to go there? We'll give you a free ticket from America to Palestine. You can become a human shield in Palestine.
You got that right. You know, they don't even know what they're talking about. They don't know what they're, but I would really like to know is who's funding all these people, the Black Lives Matter, LGBTQ, where are they getting the money?
They want
getting the money.
Bottom line, they're getting it from people like George Soros that want the destruction of the current Western norms. That's their motivation, right? We're going to fund DAs that are going to go out there and release people from prison, even if they've committed violent crimes. We don't want them in prison. We don't want to hold them accountable. We're going to create Marxist regimes that that go after anybody that has been successful. We're going to go after Jews. They're going to go after the church. They're going to go after the family. It's the breakdown of all traditional Western civic norms. That's what they're funding. So, David, I appreciate the call. David from Thornton, his line will be open 303-696-1971. 303-696-1971. I love the idea of the street being named after Kendrick. Yeah, wasn't Lucent a tech company? And they're not even there anymore. They were in those big buildings right off of C-470 in Lucent. They're not even there anymore. Name it Kendrick Castillo. I love it. I think we got an idea going here. And Abe Layden should give back his tuition. My goodness. Don't even get me started on that guy. Let's go to Nancy Palazzi and Jeffco. Nancy, thanks so much for being on the Jeff and Bill show.
Hello, good morning.
You guys have quite a guest coming up for your Jeffco Republican Lincoln Day dinner.
We do. It's Governor Kristi Noem, and we had her booked here 4 weeks ago in terms of it, and she's made the news here recently with her book coming out. So we've gotten quite some comments about it.
I bet you have. I've been in a situation, believe me, I've hosted big events with lots of speakers. The summit would typically bring in 50 speakers and people, I can't control what other people do and say. And so they would say stuff that would drive a lot of controversy sometimes prior to the event. And that's just the way it works. I'm glad you're not canceling her. I don't think that should be done. And look, I said this yesterday on the program. I disagree with the decision that she made. I would have made a different decision. I don't think it's a crime. I don't think, I don't think she needs to be impeached over it or anything like that. But I did think it was a cruel decision, and I disagreed with it. But I'm glad we're not abiding by cancel culture here, Nancy.
Right. Well, I've gotten the emails and I've gotten the phone calls and things to that nature. And I hear there may be a protest over there. But, she's still a wonderful lady. She has done an awful lot for South Dakota. And we're trying to bring some good influence here in Colorado, because I think we need to hear some of this here in Colorado. There's so much negativity going on.
Well, and they say there's no such thing as bad PR. This will definitely get the attention. I saw that even Next did a story about it yesterday. Give people the date, time, and website of where they can get tickets for your Jeffco Republican dinner, Jeffco Lincoln Day dinner featuring Governor Kristi Noem.
Yes, thank you very much for the time, Jeff. It is for Jefferson County Republican Party. Our website is Jeffco, Jeffco, Republicans with an S.com, jeffcorepublicans.com. Tickets are still being purchased. We've since this has happened, we've gotten several purchases now, so it's going to be a very fun night, a good dinner, and just come to enjoy the night. And it is a fundraiser for Jeffco Republicans. We have a lot of work we have to do this year with our candidates. And
that's the key. That is the key, Nancy. Like, look, she's a governor. She's an elected official. You can't pay her. So the money's not going to Governor Kristi Noem. The money is going to local Republicans. And Jeffco, when I first moved back here from DC, I was born and raised in Colorado, but then moved back to DC from DC in 2012. Jeffco was a swing county. We fought hard to try to win Jeffco in 2012. It's now gone blue, just like pretty much everywhere else in the state. So the money is going to support local Republicans that are doing the battles that this state needs in order to get this state turned back around. So I'm glad people are buying tickets and are showing up and being a part of your event, Nancy.
Yes, thank you for your time.
All right. Again, go to jeffcorepublicans.com. You can get an evening with Governor Kristi Noem, May 4th, 2024, 6 p.m. I'm sure she'll address this. She'll have to address it. It's not going away. It's going to be at the Marriott Denver West. The shooting of her dog and her goat, which I think was wrong. I disagree. I thought it was cruel. But let her answer it. Do not cancel these events. We're not the left. We don't cancel culture stuff. Let her speak for it. And, I think personally, I don't think that she can be the vice presidential pick anymore. After this, I think that's a deal killer. I think there's a lot in politics you can come back from. Shooting dogs in America, you can't come back from that. Sorry. Prove me wrong. But at least let her speak, and we can hear from her, and most importantly, support local Republicans. More text messages coming in. Douglas County has a resolution to name the street in honor of Kendrick. Great. There was a dedication a bit ago of a Kendrick Memorial in Civic Green Park. Maybe Commissioner Thomas can explain. Yeah. We know Laura very well. She's a friend of the show. I think we've got an idea brewing here. Let's go, folks. Let's make this happen. No one cares. It's called Lucent Boulevard. Call it Kendrick Castillo Boulevard. After that, Hero. All right. Eliminate the stress and uncertainty of selling your home while still getting top dollar with Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team with Keller Williams Sell. Their Sell with Certainty program guarantees your home will sell without even having to list it, and at the same time, getting you top dollar. Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team guarantee the sale, ensuring a seamless process, eliminating the stress while getting you the best price. Get paid twice with their Sell with Certainty program. Give Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team a call today at 833-301-SOLD. Your home is a significant asset, and choosing the right team to help you sell it can be the difference in thousands of dollars in your pocket. I highly recommend Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team, the realtors I trust. Empower Home team provides exceptional service and valuable advice and employs unique systems to maximize the money you can get for your home. Getting an offer above your home's asking price is great, but you're leaving money on the table by not working with Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team. Gay and her experts get their clients an average of $30,000 more. Could you use an extra $30,000? That's precisely why you need Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team. Their exclusive database, over 14,000 people, filled with pre-screened buyers ready to make a purchase. Take the stress and hassle out of selling your home while getting the best price. Reach out to my friends and realtors, Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team today. Call 833-301-SOLD. That's 833-301-SOLD, or go to gayhasthebuyers.com. That's GAYE hasthebuyers.com. We'll continue with your calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Coming up just next, top of the 9 o'clock hour, the physician who treated Saddam Hussein after he was captured, Dr. Sudeep Bose. He's out of Odessa, Texas now. He's a physician leader, public health expert, and speaker, entrepreneur, and founder, and combat veteran, decorated frontline U.S. Army physician in Baghdad, Bronze Star recipient, and a CNN hero. This is exciting. Dr. Bose gained invaluable skills in managing crisis and extracting creative solutions from limited resources as a frontline emergency care provider during the peak insurgencies in the streets of Iraq and at the 31st Combat Support Hospital in Baghdad and Darnell Army Medical Center in Texas. He earned the Bronze Star for serving one of the longest combat tours by a physician since World War II and was hand-selected to treat Saddam Hussein following his capture in 2003. He complements his deep expertise in the trenches of high-density crisis situations with a strategic mindset that both honors the unique circumstances of every challenge and shapes practical solutions that leverage evidence-based best practices. He was the doctor that was guarded by Chris Kyle. Does that name ring a bell? The sniper that had the most kills ever in American history protected this guy. So this guy's legit, man, an American hero, still doing medicine work, and he's got a new documentary out on Amazon Prime. So we're going to hear from him at the top of the 9 o'clock hour. It's going to be absolutely incredible. I also want to get into this next hour. Russell Brand got baptized. This was amazing. This reminds me of when I first came to know Christ and the joy and the excitement and the Holy Spirit. And he talks about how it doesn't compete with all the other drugs he used to take, which I sympathize with. I was a connoisseur of certain illegal substances at certain points in my life, but never found the joy, never found the love, never found the hope he was until he met Jesus Christ and he got baptized. This guy, he was in the movie Get Him to the Greek as the rock star. So this guy, lived a pretty wild lifestyle, found his peace finally with Jesus Christ, which is awesome, and talked about it. So we'll get to that in the 9 o'clock hour too. Text messages coming in. If Christie is the VP pick for Trump, I won't vote for him. Interesting. I'm a Trump supporter, regardless of what he has said and done, but not in this case. There's nothing she can do or say to change my mind. 6182. What if, this is Lori and Greeley, what if she repented? What if she said she was sorry? She made a mistake. She lost her cool. I don't think she will. But would that change your mind? And I wonder, this is why I don't think that Kristi Noem can be the VP pick anymore. The biggest gap that Donald Trump has are women, and somebody shooting dogs. I don't know. Call me crazy. I only have a master's degree in political management. I don't think that appeals to women. I don't know. Call me crazy. I just don't see that as getting across the line for Kristi Noem and Donald Trump. So I think Tulsi's got a good lead right now, a good edge on that. It could be J.D. Vance from Ohio, because oftentimes if you pick somebody from a state you need to win, it helps. I also just think Ben Carson would be amazing. I love that guy. Just give that guy more leadership, more power in this country, and I think our country will work out better. All right. Dr. Sudeep Bose joining us, the physician that took care of Saddam Hussein after he'd been captured, joins us next. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710, KNUS. 9 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe. He's out a little sick. If only we had a doctor in the house who could help Bill. Oh, okay. Bill, you're going to have to listen to this interview with Dr. Sandeep Bose in just a second. Praying for you. I hope you're feeling better. If you've just tuned in, welcome. We're bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, center, and sometimes a little crazy. It's another beautiful day in America's greatest city, and we're gearing up for a whole nother hour of engaging discussions, critical analysis, and most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab another cup of coffee, Denver. Let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Coming up just after the news with Blake Olson, Dr. Sandeep Bose. He's the physician that treated Saddam Hussein after he was captured. Man, you're not going to want to miss this interview. This is crazy. I can't believe we even got this guy. But he's going to be on with the Jeff and Bill Show. It's going to be a very exciting interview. All right, turning it over to the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Morning, Jeff. Wow, what a morning. 54 and sunny in Denver, expecting highs in the low 70s. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story for the second day in a row, another chase and shooting, this one deadly. An investigation underway as a Thornton police officer was involved in a shooting after a pursuit in Lakewood. Police followed a suspicious car without license plates. They followed the car for about 13 miles before the suspect got out and fired at police. Both suspects were eventually shot later and killed. Their identities will be released later as the investigation continues. On Monday, a suspect named David Sensala was shot by police during a pursuit from Englewood to Mineral Avenue in Littleton, there near 470. He drove suspiciously at officers, and then after the pursuit, they shot in defense. I'm sorry, that was before the pursuit. They shot in defense, and then they took off on this chase. He crashed into two other cars, injuring two people. All right, the brainwashing continues around the world, and here in Denver, the Community College of Denver on the Auraria campus has canceled in-person classes and more because of Hamas supporters raising hell on campus, just like those at Columbia in New York who occupied Hamilton Hall and still occupying it to this hour.
The people who were already inside Hamilton Hall decided to smash the windows and then put bike locks like around each door handle.
Wow, that's nice. Kamani James is one of the student Hamas cheerleaders.
Zionists, they don't deserve to live comfortably, let alone Zionists don't deserve to live. The same way we're very comfortable accepting that Nazis don't deserve to live, fascists don't deserve to live, racists don't deserve to live, Zionists, they shouldn't live in this world.
And that's who we're dealing with right now. And this young boy has been indoctrinated at Virginia Tech University.
We're not leaving. When Palestine is under attack, what do we do? Stand up like that. When Palestine is under attack, what do we do? Stand up like that. Free, free Palestine. Free, free Palestine.
Wow. Your parents are evil.
Oh, man.
I mean, this is you can see thousands of these online. I don't know if you want to see
Really?
it.
Wow. That's heartbreaking, man.
No, it is heartbreaking. It is really bad. Former President Trump has been found in contempt of court for violating the gag order in his New York criminal cases. That continues today. Judge Marchand, that fantastic judge, fined him $9,000. I don't know if he'll be able to handle that.
Jokic a screen, Murray to try to break the tie. No timeout by the Lakers. I gotta go. James, a bump, a feed, a print shot. No! Zero's on the clock. The Nuggets advance. They have won.
108-106, Jamal Murray over the Lakers last night, game high, 32 points. Jokic had 25 points, 20 rebounds, 9 assists. And next up is Minnesota this weekend. Avalanche try to wrap up their series tonight in Winnipeg against the Jets. They lead it 3-1, 52 in Lakewood, 50 in Castle Rock, 54 in Denver. Jeff continues without Billy. He'll be back soon. Thinking about you, Billy. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
The 7-10 5-day forecast, sunny to partly sunny, a little breezy today, high 65 to 70, gusty west winds of 15 to 30. Lows tonight in the lower 40s. Partly cloudy on Wednesday, a high near 70. Wednesday afternoon and evening and Wednesday night could bring a chance for showers and thunderstorms. It will be cooler, back down to the 60s Thursday and Friday, and Thursday, Friday into Saturday, some scattered showers and thunderstorms possible. Meteorologist Don Day on 710 KNUS. The 7-10 5-day forecast, sunny to
All right, joining us on the Jeff and Bill Show is Dr. Sudeep Bose. Listen to this guy's biography. Featured physician in Desert Doc, now streaming on Prime Video. He's an EMS medical doctor in West Texas, veteran combat surgeon. He served in the Iraq War. He received a Bronze Star and was selected as the U.S. physician who treated Saddam Hussein after his capture. Dr. Bose, thanks so much for being on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here. Hello to the Mile High City, Denver, and the rest of the people around the nation listening.
Well, I'm interested in hearing, first of all, let's talk about your military service. How did you get into the Army? How did you become a physician within the Army? And then I want to get into what that experience in Iraq was like.
Sure. My parents came from Calcutta, India, to the United States in the 1960s. I guess they were looking for a place similar to Calcutta, tropical, vibrant, lots of people. And naturally, they landed in North Dakota in the freezing snow. You know, my mom's wearing her sari and open sandals, and they're like, where am I? And from there, they moved to Duluth, Minnesota, to Ann Arbor, Michigan, where my sister and I were born, and then a suburb of Chicago, Naperville, Illinois. And all along, you know, growing up, whether it was in elementary school to high school or college at Northwestern University or medical school at Northwestern University, I heard these amazing stories of people who just looked out for my parents. Audrey, Betsy, Gus, these people who looked out for them, and everything from adjusting to a new nation, to getting a new winter coat, to not eating a hot dog with a spoon and knife. And it was just made me very grateful. And it was always instilled to me to pay it forward to the nation that helped my parents when they came here. So during my medical training, I signed the dotted line and I joined the U.S. Army.
Wow. And when was that? Was that after 9/11 that you joined or prior to that?
I joined prior to 9/11. I joined in 1995.
Okay.
And served in the military till 2007. So a total of about 12 years.
Wow. So 9/11 happens. The war in Iraq starts. Tell us what it was like on the ground. And you were even protected by Chris Kyle, the kind of world famous sniper that was featured in the movie. I think I can't remember the name of the movie now. I think it was American Soldier.
American Sniper.
American Sniper. That's right. So what was your time in Iraq like?
Well, it was emergency medicine stretched to the limits. I basically was used to a hospital with shelves of supplies and bags of blood to transfuse into people, and lots of other doctors who told cheesy jokes, you know, not just me. And all of a sudden I found myself, you know, I practiced fairly comfortably in the United States as ambulances came to us. And then all of a sudden in Iraq, I found myself inside the ambulance, inside a metal armored 577 tracked vehicle with a chain track around the wheels, just jostling around from Baghdad to sections of Fallujah and elsewhere. And I'd pop out and I found myself on the front line of combat. By front line, I mean forward to the hospital. Like, think of our ambulances and our paramedics on the streets. And there we tried to stop bleeding, and all I had was one backpack full of supplies. So you can imagine it takes a lot to save someone's life. So how do you do that with one backpack full of supplies? And this was the difference with the military, is being able to improvise, adapt, to overcome, and to work together as a team to do it. So I deployed with the 1st Cavalry Division out of Fort Hood, Texas.
Wow. And I've read before that the work you all did in Iraq and Afghanistan really changed the fact that we didn't have as many deaths on the battlefield, that you all were able to implement and improvise, as you said, which resulted, yes, still in maimings and people losing limbs and stuff like that, but not necessarily the amount of deaths that we had seen in previous wars. Is that correct?
Correct. I mean, recently I was hanging around with a heroic soldier. His name was Jeff, and Jeff suffered a horrific injury in war. He lost his right leg, kind of just below the knee, an amputation. And I asked Jeff, what was it like to lose your leg? I mean, that's intense. And his answer just shocked me. Jeff answered that he was grateful. And I'm thinking, how can you be grateful for losing your leg? That doesn't make sense to me. But Jeff was grateful for the advances in medicine, because Jeff knew if you were a Continental Army soldier in the year 1777, the year after our fledgling nation declared independence, if he suffered that same injury, he would be lying in the snow, bleeding from his injury in his tattered uniform, just bleeding to death. And that help would never arrive. And it was not until almost 100 years later, when brother was pitted against brother, North versus South in our Civil War, that a soldier like Jeff could be placed in a horse-drawn carriage, our first ambulances, and be taken to people's churches and homes, our first hospitals. And then amongst the noxious gases and the trenches of World War I, a soldier like Jeff could reach out his left arm and receive a blood transfusion. And then amongst concentration camps and atomic bombs of World War II, Jeff could receive penicillin. And then there's the Korean War and the jungles of Laos and Cambodia. In Vietnam, where perhaps many of your listeners are listening, a soldier like Jeff could be air evacuated. So our goal on the ground was to hop out of that 577 tracked medical vehicle and just stop bleeding as quickly as possible on that bleeding leg on Jeff, so that if he could survive to the hospital, he would have a 97% survival rate, because the number one cause of preventable death on the battlefield is hemorrhage, or the soldier simply bleeding to death before they make it to the combat hospital.
That's an incredible overview of how medicine has changed in our country's history. Dr. Bose, you served and took care of Saddam Hussein when he was captured by American forces. Walk us through what that day was like. Was it an average day that you were working, doing your job, and all of a sudden you're called to something totally unique and historic, or were you prepared for it? Walk us through what that was like and what it was like to treat Saddam Hussein.
Sure. At times, I was basically an ambulatory ambulance where we went to places and treated patients like Jeff. And other times the patients were brought to us to provide care. And when patients arrived, it was never fully accurate what would be coming because of the chaos on the battlefield during the radio call. You'd be getting a call for someone with amputated arm, and then 3 patients would arrive with amputated legs. So it was very chaotic on the battlefield. And when they arrived, I was told a VIP patient would be arriving, and the area was clear except a few key personnel who remained. And I heard the blades of the chopper overhead, and the chopper landed, and the stiff landing of the chopper, it shook me. And 6 men exited the chopper aside an elderly man in a wheelchair, blindfolded and restrained. And then the wheelchair approached, and there was a man, mid-60s, disheveled, salt and pepper beard. And the guards, they untied his restraints, they undid his blindfold, and he stood. And I looked up, and I saw a man standing 6'1", a man who was responsible for the death of thousands of people, had been on the run for months, and who'd ruled a country into ruin. And before me was the former president of Iraq, Saddam Hussein. He looked at my weapon, which was holstered to my side, and he muttered something in Arabic. And I could feel the tension and the pressure. And I looked to the guards, and they said nothing. And so I introduced myself like I introduce myself to any patient. Hi, I'm Dr. Bose. And it really taught me the importance of focusing on your mission. You have to put aside what may be distracting you, and you have to focus on your mission, no matter how stressful it may be. And that's what this taught me.
Wow. What was his response to you? You introduced yourself, you began to treat him. What was his demeanor? What was his personality? What was that like?
You know, a lot of my training was in Chicago, sometimes inner city Chicago, where you would have, you know, gang members come in, violent patients after shootings, and we're trained for that. And even where I practice now in West Texas at Medical Center Hospital, you know, we cover 38,000 square miles of land. I mean, people have a tough time putting their mind around that. It's the largest U.S. geographic coverage by any hospital system in the United States. We're ready for violent patients, and whether it's sedating them or restraining them or whatever we have to do. So I was ready to do that, but I didn't need to. He was more cooperative than I expected, and maybe his impending fate was on his mind. And it was basically a medical checkup before he was placed in detention.
And what did you find in the medical checkup? He had been living,
Well,
he'd been living in like a hole for a few months, hadn't he?
Yeah, he'd been on the run for months. He was found in a hole, and he was obviously disheveled from that, a bit dehydrated. And you know, there are certain things I'm allowed to say and certain things I'm not allowed to say. But our goal medically wasn't as, you know, challenging. It was a checkup to make sure everything's okay before detention. Whereas with our heroic soldiers, we would see, you know, amputations and eyeball injuries and intense, you know, cuts and wounds. So in that end, it wasn't medically challenging, but it was just doing your duty and focusing on the mission.
And how long did you spend with him before he was taken away to detention? And then did you see him again after that, or was it just that initial care that you provided?
Sure. Possibly about 8 to 10 hours in a room with him.
Really?
And,
8 to 10 hours?
Yeah. I mean,
I've never,
thing,
I know some doctor appointments can be long. That's a really long appointment.
Yeah, no, I would say the whole exam didn't take that long, but there was a thorough process in this. He had guards, and he was in that room for about 8 to 10 hours.
Wow.
And then, you know, that was the communication was interesting because most of it was through an Arabic translator, although I suspect he spoke English, but he didn't care to speak it at the time. And, you know, I mean, although this gets a lot of attention, I really like to emphasize the things that don't get attention, like the unsung heroes that are featured, you know, not only in Desert Dock, working in that busy hospital system, but in the military, these soldiers you never hear about, and the acts of heroism that they perform, and the human spirit that keeps them going.
Yeah, let's talk about that. You've continued to serve soldiers, even though you're a veteran now. You have a nonprofit called The Battle Continues. People can find information about that at thebattlecontinues.org. What is this organization? What do you all do for veterans?
Sure. After this 15-month combat tour in Iraq, intense, Baghdad, Fallujah, the key moments of Najaf, Iraq, and these soldiers, they come back, and I realized that the battle still continues for them. It's not that they just assimilate back. And it motivated me to start The Battle Continues. It's a 501c3. And what I'm especially proud about with this is that 100%, like every donated cent, goes to injured veterans. And I cover the administrative fees and put bread on my table as an emergency physician and various business ventures. And I've been fortunate to have that. So I cover the administrative fees, and all donated dollars go to the injured soldiers. So basically, it's very simple. People donate into a glass fishbowl. It's a 501c3 nonprofit charity. And then our board of directors chooses injured veterans to provide care to and to help them with their medical bills.
And what kind of care are you providing to veterans today? What are kind of the issues that they're facing?
Veterans face everything from physical to mental ailments. So whether it's Jeff with the amputated leg or someone with invisible wounds where you can't really see a visible wound, but those are still serious injuries, those mental abrasions, whether it's post-traumatic stress or, suicidal ideation or whatever it is, we try to provide that help. And it's just kind of my way of trying to give back without getting shot at, which is a lot more pleasant.
I bet. What kind of care do you provide for folks facing this? Could it be medical? Is it housing? Is it experiences? What do your donations do to help the veterans?
We help them with their medical bills. So it's as simple as that. And,
right.
It's because it's kind of a side charity I have. I'm still a practicing emergency physician, practice in a very busy region in West Texas in Odessa. And, I'm the medical director for EMS, so all the paramedics in Odessa. And the hospital system does cover 38,000 square miles of land. It's busy. So, my thing with this charity is just keeping it simple, where people donate and we just cut the check, and that's what we're trying to do. And if anybody's interested in helping and doing it in a further manner, we're welcome to that.
Yeah, the website is thebattlecontinues.org, thebattlecontinues.org. All right, you've even got your own reality television show. I guess it's kind of, it's reality in the sense it's reality of what's happening in a hospital. It's called Desert Doc, and it's on Prime Video. Tell us about this streaming series.
Well, I would be honored if you guys watch it. Our whole healthcare team would be honored if your listeners watched it. It's basically, I would say it's a misnomer to call it my reality series. I mean, it's covering an entire team of people. And although somehow the producers put me on the thumbnail, I mean, this is a hospital system, and the unique thing about this show is it's an intense behind the scenes, unveiling the curtain look into emergency medicine stretched to the limits. And it is not a reenactment. So obviously viewer discretion is advised, but as a combat physician in the U.S. Army in the deserts of Iraq, I faced brutal conditions, and then come back and I'm working with an amazing team to deliver aid to the deadly deserts and oil fields of West Texas. So you'll get to see everything, and it's amazing, the patients consented. So this is not reenacted. Everything from trauma, oil field injuries, gunshot wounds, to the opioid epidemic. And then it zooms out to areas such as Calcutta, India, quaint villages in Mexico, or even policy in Washington, D.C. I think people will find it fascinating because, unfortunately, we're all one step away from an emergency. What I realize when I'm in the emergency room is nobody expects to be there that day. It's just they end up there, and it's good to educate yourself and see what it's like behind the scenes of an emergency room. And, I hope everybody will watch Desert Doc, which is exclusively on Prime Video.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about the hospital system that you're working with in Odessa, Texas. You mentioned some of the issues you're facing, oil field work, injuries that happen out there in the oil field, shootings. Tell us about the hospital system, and why did you choose Odessa after you've been to Iraq? You're from North Dakota. You went to Northwestern. You've been all over the country, and now you've settled in Midland, Odessa, Texas. So how'd you get there? And tell us about the system that you're serving in.
Sure. One thing I really realized in the military was the impact that we all can make. I mean, we all have some sort of skill set. And, what really struck me is one day in Iraq where it was a religious holiday. And this changed my whole mentality, and probably is why I'm in Odessa. It was like a religious holiday, thousands of people marching the street, the faithful, the hopeful, the committed. But in this crowd in Iraq were a group of a dozen men strapped with bombs. And nobody knew their terrible plan, and nobody knew what they were up to. And then, boom, all of a sudden, the ground shakes beneath my feet, and the hot desert dust burns my nose, and the dust settles, and I see bodies lying everywhere. People, these are the dead and the injured. And I was thinking, who do I go to next? There's so many patients. Who will I be able to treat? And this became like a flashbulb moment for me where everything was moving slow motion. And I saw the medics, and they were placing airway devices and chest seals and saving people. And I couldn't get to everybody, but the medics were there. And I was so thankful to God that we could train those medics. And by training the medics, I'd essentially multiplied myself. And that concept of multiplying yourself, whatever that skill set is, whether it's medical or whatever, is what brought me to Odessa. Because I saw the impact in a place where, we even staffed a hospital in Fort Stockton, Texas. That's Pecos County Memorial Hospital. And then the big hospital is Medical Center Hospital in West Texas in Odessa. Amazing hospital system, amazing people and nurses. And here's a place you can multiply your team and you can help so many people. I mean, there are people who go 7 hours just to reach pavement. And we still need to provide care to these people. So when you're encompassing 22 counties, 38,000 square miles, the size of the state of Indiana, you have to figure out how to do this. And it drew me because of the impact that the team has there. And the entire team, like saving someone on the battlefield, everybody says, "Doc, you saved that patient." But it wasn't just a doc. I mean, it took the person carrying the stretcher. It took the person who flew the helicopter. It took the person who filled the fuel on that helicopter. And none of those jobs are any less important. And heck, I mean, the custodian probably saves more lives than anyone by preventing infection. So just working together as a team in Odessa, in Fort Stockton, being able to reach those rural areas, being able to make an impact, that's what drew me there. And the way that, this hospital, which is just like this modern spaceship that landed in West Texas, that can do amazing, top-notch care, despite the rural areas that surround it that struggle for care. So this was, the team there was doing amazing work, and it drew me there.
talking with Dr. Sadeep Bose. He's the featured physician on Desert Doc, now streaming on Prime Video, EMS medical director in West Texas, and a veteran combat surgeon. He was there to care for, which is wild. That's a wild word to say, care for Saddam Hussein after he'd been captured, but that's who we are as Americans. So Dr. Sadeep Bose, we got a few text messages here. People just celebrating and lauding your service to our country. Thank you for what you did to save lives in Iraq. Thank you for what you're doing to serve people in West Texas now. Thank you for your parents. We celebrate immigrants who come here and produce children like you that have done great things for this country. So across the board, you've been a gift to this country, and we appreciate you taking time to be on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Thank you so much. And I hope you and all the listeners will keep their inner army strong by staying physically and mentally healthy. This is important. We have one vehicle to make it through this journey called life, and that's our human body. Take care of it. Stay healthy, guys.
Sounds like spoken like a true doctor. You can visit his website, docbose.com. That's DOCBOSE.com, and get avenues to all the different projects that he's a part of. So go to DOCBOSE.com. Dr. Sadeep Bose, thank you again. Friends, we'll continue the conversation. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We just finished a fantastic interview with Dr. Bose, the doctor that treated Saddam Hussein when he was captured by American forces. Those details were amazing. It was interesting. He, at a certain point in that interview, he was like, I don't want to talk. I want to talk about the guys who gave their lives, who sacrificed. That was powerful. It's a very powerful interview. If you missed it, go to 710knus.com, download the podcast there. He's got a new documentary on Prime Video called Desert Doc. He's now in Odessa, Texas, serving there, and continues to want to help people. It's a fascinating story, too. Some text messages here. Excellent and inspiring interview with Dr. Bose. Thank you. Well, thank you. 8587. Appreciate it. My late mother received a newspaper article from a cousin that was an army nurse and also cared for Saddam Hussein. I still find like that's the type of country we are. Here's a guy we went to war against, captured him, and then we provided care. Now, granted, he was turned over to people and eventually hung, but, we provided care. She said Saddam Hussein was very pleasant and declared how much he loved American medicine. Interesting. Something about his kidneys and wanting American docs to check on him. Oh, thanks for texting in 9446. This is from 0010. If conservatives have their way, doctors like your guest will no longer live and serve in the USA as immigrants, such as his parents will no longer be welcome. That is not true. That is not true. I think, in fact, there could be an argument made that what we're looking for are more people like his parents. And that when people follow it legally, follow the pathway legally, we're happy to have them here in this country. It's those that just kind of pour over the border and jump in line ahead of everybody else doing it legally. That's the problem we have. It's just not fair to people like, in my opinion, Dr. Bose's parents, who did it the right way. Hey, folks, it's Jeff on behalf of the Colorado Farm Bureau. Whether you pulled out your skis or snowmobiles this last winter, it was a great year for winter fun. But the snow means even more to Colorado agriculture, and I want you to know that our state's farmers and ranchers are doing their part to protect our future water resources. The people of Colorado agriculture continue improving the efficiency of their irrigation systems and adopting farming practices that help crops use less water to grow. They're planting drought-resistant varieties, and they're leading talks with state policymakers about how to preserve water supplies when we have good years like this last one. My friends at the Colorado Farm Bureau are leaders in water conservation and water policy. They understand how to balance water for crops and water for families, and they're doing more with less. You could do your part. I recommend you join and become a member today. Go to coloradofarmbureau.com. That's coloradofarmbureau.com to join them. Text message here, 1780. Hey, Jeff, that was an awesome interview. So interesting. Dr. Bose is doing great work. You can tell he's a real doc at the end of that because he's like, oh, and by the way, please live healthy. I wouldn't like to have to see you. If I see you, things aren't going that well, and I would prefer not to. So please live healthy, which I'm on week 14 of working out. This is part of the reason, Kelly, why I love this job is I got to get up early. I work out, get after it, man. Feeling healthier and stronger since I joined you all over here at 710 KNUS. So another one of the many reasons I appreciate it. Text me. Let me know what you thought of that interview with Dr. Bose on the 710 KNUS app. And when you do, let me know your first name and where you're from. I'd appreciate that. Or give us a call, 720-696-1971. That's 303-696-1971. I didn't think it sounded right in my head. 303-696-1971. Tell me what you thought of that interview. I saw this. I came across this audio the other day, and I thought it was just fantastic. Russell Brand, the kind of crazy guy in England. Listen to this.
Yesterday, I got baptized, and it was an incredible, profound experience. And many of you will have had your own experiences of baptism and will therefore know what I'm talking about. Many aspects of it were very intimate and personal. The truth is this, as a person that has in the past taken many, many substances and always been disappointed with their inability to deliver the kind of tranquility and peace and even transcendence that I always felt I've been looking for, something occurred in the process of baptism that was incredible, overwhelming, literally overwhelming, because I was obviously underwater and it was the River Thames at some points. So I felt changed, transitioned. Now, of course, even though it's been less than 24 hours, in the interim period, I've already felt like sort of irritation. I've got 3 children, I've got a job, I've got challenges, I still live in the world, but I feel as if some new resource within me has switched on. So many of your comments have been so beautiful and encouraging, and I really appreciate it. And also even the cynicism, I understand, because some people will just see me as a celebrity. I don't see me as a celebrity because I was me when I was a little boy. I was me when I was a junkie. I was me when I was poor. I've been me in all of the different phases. But I recognize that anything in this terrain, in the sort of social media world, could be exploited and utilized. For me, I've made the decision, and I know what the decision is. I've made it for myself, and I pray that it will be relevant to my family, in particular my children. My wife's Catholic. You know, she's already made her own choices in this life, including this one. This is new for me. I'm learning, and I will make mistakes, but this is my path now. And I already feel incredibly blessed, relieved, nourished, held.
I thought that was just awesome. It honestly reminded me of my conversion. I had gone out there and tried all these different things. I was kind of living as the world had told me to live. If you throw big parties and you have lots of girlfriends and you drink and you do alcohol and all that stuff, you're going to have a really great life. And so I ran off there and tried to do all that. And I was just always so empty. And it was when I read the story of the prodigal son and the idea of coming back to God and finding your ultimate fulfillment there. And then your life just changes. And that joy that he talks about, and you kind of see it. He's got joy. He's got hope. You kind of feel like he's got the Holy Spirit now living in him. So he's not going to be perfect. He's not going to still, a rock star starting it off. But gosh, I saw Candace Owens join the Catholic Church the other day. Russell Brand. If you asked me if Russell Brand was going to be baptized and commit his life to Christ, I'm not sure I would have believed you, but maybe there's a change out there. It's kind of exciting. I like seeing that. Hey, speaking of following Christ, there's a lot to consider when it comes to higher education. The college experience can either build a student's faith up with knowledge and understanding, or tear it down. At Colorado Christian University, they aim to strengthen their students' Christian faith because they believe that everything depends on it. CCU's academic and student development programs cultivate a deep and enduring faith that affirms the authority of Scripture and embraces Christ as the authentic center of life. What does this look like week to week at CCU? All students are placed in a discipleship group freshman year. That means they're kind of guided in their faith. Their campus ministries department creates space for spiritual formation through weekly chapels, service opportunities, and international missions. And every student graduates with an emphasis in biblical studies taught by expert faculty in their field, Old and New Testament, theology, and church history. At CCU, they consider faith the most important thing a student can take with them into their future career. To learn more and apply, go to ccu.edu/apply. That's ccu.edu/apply. More text messages coming in here. Love the interview with the Desert Doc and plan to watch the show on Amazon. Oh, thanks, Karen. Karen in Edgewater. Thank you so much for that text message. He was really an impactful guy. I'd love to see, hearing that audio from Russell Brand. Have you had a similar experience where kind of God changed your life and made all things new? It definitely happened to me. And it's kind of part of the reason why, I really believe that Jesus Christ is right, because I'd have had an encounter. It wasn't just a series of things I believed, doctrines and things like that. No, I actually called out to God and he was there and met me. It was kind of a cool experience. You hear that from Russell Brand. Men, you've heard a lot about how treating low testosterone can improve your sleep, your workouts, your energy levels, and more. But I want to talk to you about your love drive, because low testosterone can have a significant impact on your desire for intimacy. And if you're in a relationship or wanting to be in a relationship, a low love drive can really be a problem. There's good news. Go to RockyMountainMen'sClinic.com and take the Low T quiz on their website. It's a simple 10-question quiz with yes or no answers, and it only takes 2 minutes. Then schedule a consult With Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic, a Colorado licensed medical provider will review the results with you and discuss your options. Cost of the appointment's only $99, which includes medical consult, T and PSA test. If you sign up for testosterone treatment the day of your appointment, your visit is free. Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic has served the Front Range of Colorado for nearly a decade and successfully treated tens of thousands of men. Give them a call today at 720-440-7900. That's 720-440-7900, or visit RockyMountainMen'sClinic.com. That's RockyMountainMen'sClinic.com. We'll continue with your calls and texts next. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour,
Welcome back to the Steph and Bill Show. We've had an absolutely fantastic show. If you missed any of it, we covered these protests early on in the show in the 6 o'clock hour, and we didn't even plan this, but Representative Richard Holtorf called in, and he has some words for his Democrat colleagues down at the state capitol, especially the Jewish Democrat colleagues, to get after this crazy anti-Semitic leftism that's taking place in the Democrat Party. So 6 o'clock hour, that took place. In the 7 o'clock hour, that continued. In the 8 o'clock hour, we got into this Denver Post weapons editorial where they basically grant that, yes, you are law-abiding, and yes, you have rights, but it's those other guys out there that are the problem, so we're taking away your rights. If you don't believe me, just read the Denver Post editorial. It's in the bottom of it. So got that in the 8 o'clock hour. And then the 9 o'clock hour, Dr. Sadeep Bose joined us. He's the featured physician on Desert Doc, a new streaming show on Prime Video. He's an EMS medical doctor in West Texas and a former combat surgeon who was the doc that treated Saddam Hussein when he was captured and what that was like. Fascinating interview. So all of this is at 710 KNUS if you'd like to read it there, or if you'd like to watch it and listen to it there. Hey, if you're losing your hair, you need a simple solution that works. You want the best. Modern technology with top-rated physicians, something that's guaranteed to work. Guys, you need Dr. Tanya Pauls and her team at Advanced Hair. They've completely redefined hair restoration from the experience itself to their unmatched results. Receding hairline, bald spot, or thinning hair, address them all with Advanced Hair's simple one-day treatment in a calm, relaxed environment with the most experienced professionals. Advanced Hair has performed tens of thousands of these breakthrough treatments. And get this, your own natural hair begins to regrow the very next day. No one in Denver can offer anything like the advanced FUE found at Advanced Hair, and I highly recommend their team. It starts with your free consultation. Call 720-459-HAIR. If you qualify, you'll also get $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. Refine your hairline with the team that's redefined hair restoration. 720-459-HAIR or advancedhair.com. That's advancedhair.com. We're hoping that tomorrow Billy will be back. We're praying for a quick recovery, my friend. Coming up next is Charlie Kirk on 710 KNUS. Plus, a whole afternoon, including Dennis Prager, Sebastian Gorka, Mark Levin. I mean, really, this is where good thinking happens. I posted this on Twitter. We were just talking about this, that there's no, even center-right news in Colorado. It's entirely left-leaning, and then you have some that skew even more left, like Next on Channel 9. So if you want actual conservative thought, which means balanced reasoning when it comes to your news, well, 710 KNUS is the place to do it. So be sure to stick around, and we'll be back tomorrow. We've got Representative Ron Weinberg who'll be joining us in the 7 o'clock hour tomorrow. Do you remember the Democrats down at the state capitol, and they were telling House Republicans what words they could use and not use? Well, Representative Ron Weinberg decided to test their resolve on the words that they would like to use and not use down there. Got up there and made some statements. We're going to talk to him about how he was treated because he is an immigrant. And so he can give you a little bit of insight into all that. So thank you again to everybody for your calls. Thank you for your texts. Thanks for being a part of News Talk 710 KNUS. We'll be back tomorrow.